Hello everybody and welcome to day 2 of the CCA Circuit Finals, the second edition of the Circuit Finals here this weekend. We got a crown of division finals across all 5 divisions here today. My name is Kyon. I am thrilled to be joined by the ShinyHunterZach himself. Zach, we get to cover Division 1. It's going to be a blast to watch. How are you doing first of all?
Doing phenomenally. It's so good to get to cast with you. I mentioned in the pre-show you are a dearth of CCA collegiate Splatoon action knowledge, and getting to be here on day 2 to kick us off for Division 1, which you yourself mentioned again in that pre-show is very stacked this time around, with also one notable absent.
Yeah, one notable absence for sure. I think I'll name out 2. UCSD Esports Gold, a team that's been along for such a long time, not qualifying for day 2, finishing 0-3 in day 1, and then of course the huge shout outs to Drexel Dragons Platoon, also unfortunately falling 0-3, so they don't get to qualify for day 2. That's not going to ignore the fact that we have an amazing Division 1 bracket here today. One team, probably the heavy favorites coming into this. For reasons we'll get into at some point down the road. But we got a Battle of Texas to start off round 1. I know, Zach, you might have a stake in the Battle of Texas in some way or shape or form. We got the H-Town Rebels versus Daybreak, Houston, and the University of Texas at Austin to start.
Yes, sir. As a Texas boy myself, no better way to start out our Division 1 winners top 8 with a University of Texas at Austin versus University of Houston matchup. Love the graphics here. We get to see both players and the weapons. We were talking a bit about this. The call out from Neptune, our spec cam operator today, our production person, is both these teams love holding forward. They love holding the proverbial W key, and you can see why. We've got V Glue Gaduli, so a proverbial one trick, if you will, incomplete. We've got things like a V Sploosh. That weapon wants to be so close in front of your opponent, they're basically behind you. And then on the side of Daybreak here, some very interesting weapons as well. Potentially some Tri-Slosher action, which you know I love, in addition to the Aerospray weapons, and weapons like the Custom Blaster or even the vanilla Luna Blaster. So a proverbial smorgasbord or charcuterie board, if you will, of weapons to start us off today. Again, some very intense competition. I know we'll get into maybe some more meta compositions later here, Kyon, but this is a lovely way to start us off as we look forward to Hagglefish Market for Game 1.
Yeah, Hagglefish Market zones will lead us off for Game 1, and for those trying to be familiar with how this form is going to work, it's counter picks right out of the gate here for top 8. So to your point, here with all the variety of different weapons that we are seeing possibly from both teams, obviously the V Glugas, I think, being the call out there from H-Town Rebels, and then Daybreak with, as you mentioned there, I call it the dartboard of weapon choices that they can definitely dish out. I feel like you could go multiple different ways, especially with how you want to set things up. I know you talked about it before we went live. Double Reef Sliders is a possibility coming into this from Daybreak. So I think, to me, Zach, it's always interesting to see what both teams want to dish out Game 1 and how it can define the set as a whole.
Yeah, Double Reef Slider, in addition maybe to something like a triple splashdown as your third special, is going to be interesting. But let's wait no longer. We have our Game 1 to start out. Splat Zones on Hagglefish Market for the winners top 8 of Division 1 CCA Finals. Here, let's take a look at the compositions. And indeed, Heavy Edit is coming out on the opposite side of things. Double buckets, and also the custom blaster that was mentioned from Break and Bad. One other weapon I want to spotlight here, Cheese Balls on the Slosher Deco. The Slosher, one of the most prominent weapons in the meta, but not the Deco variant, as H-Town Rebels here, Kill, and get started out hot.
You're exactly right. You don't normally get to see that Slosher Deco whatsoever because it's the one with the Zipcaster. There are other options you can use, such as the Vanilla Slosher, to start things off. So it's a very intriguing weapon to really use if you can take advantage of how Hagglefish Zone starts off. But right now, right out of the gate, H-Town Rebels starts things off with the first push of the day, and then the Reef Slider already with the instant neutral there. So that's how you're going to see the Reef Sliders likely being used from Daybreak, using it most likely to get capsule zones or looking for zoning potential once they get the zones cap of the entire way through. All it is, though, Zach, it's just a bump in the road. H-Town Rebels already getting the zones back. They're going to be out of penalty points here shortly.
And you can see the disparity in positioning here where they set up their tacticalers. H-Town Rebels with the wherewithal to set theirs up in front of the zone. So much room to maneuver here, and they're keeping that room as Daybreak had to use theirs basically on top of their spawn area. You can still see it as it goes away now, and H-Town Rebels gets past the halfway point. But here is the Zipcaster I've been waiting for from that Slosher Deco. Can they take out the Inkjet? They instead opt to go for Breakdown and will get the pick, and that will be 2 down against Daybreak. Kyon, who has not really had time to get out of this sort of court area.
Yeah, just not enough time really to get out of it, especially with the critical pick there with with that Zipcaster, using it to change targets after realizing, all right, there is someone near me. We may as well just get them out of the board here soon, and that's just how it's all materializing right now for H-Town Rebels. Right now, Icebreaker is going to have the keys, most likely, Zach, to getting the game, the zones cap right away. But the follow-up that we're seeing from Daybreak, by the way, with the 3 down, is going to give Daybreak a chance to extend this push a little bit more. And now you get to see Breaking Bad and Icebreaker trying to push up forward. Daybreak recognizing here, Zach, that we got to go as aggro as possible.
Yeah, in my mind, this feels like one of the hardest things for Daybreak to do is actually get into this position. Maybe a bit easier for them to lock it down, but they are starting to lose members quickly. In fact, their 2 sort of backline weapons, they especially lose the ballpoint Splatling and Dio pressing forward here. They do take some damage and will go down as a result, but that's going to be the flip back over to H-Town Rebels, who is going to have that Tactical Lure and the Zipcaster back online. Going to be buffed up by that. Get some chip damage off, and we'll finish yet again Breaking Bad here, Kyon. The second time in a row that they've been the casualty there as these 2 teams jockey for position.
Both teams jockeying for position. It's also another great value right away from the Zipcaster that gets the collision damage and then getting the pick there. It's actually kind of unreal how much that Saucer Deco has been getting in terms of value for the H-Town Rebels to start. We did also get to see the Inkjet pick as well. So Zach, it's kind of been a brawl to say the least, with everybody moving forward, fighting for the zone. No one with firm control with about 2 minutes and 10 seconds left into this matchup. Reef Slider not going to get used right away as that Dreadbringer drops. So does a 3rd member from Daybreak, and now H-Town Rebels breaking the door wide open. They have a chance to extend this and possibly look for the KO.
Yeah, Dio fortunate. They're running arguably the most meta of the weapons in either of these compositions, that they had the maneuverability to get out of the range of that Face of Bomb. As Cheeseballs yet again has the Zipcaster, but it's going to be single digits now for H-Town Rebels. Doesn't look like anyone from Daybreak will be able to compete, much less the members that are down. That was 3 at the end, and a pretty emphatic start here for an H-Town Rebels team that looked to lock onto that zone and only lost it a couple of times. They really held off that very aggressive but short range composition that Daybreak is going to have, and they're going to have to figure out an answer here as the University of Houston's H-Town Rebels takes a 1-0 game lead.
Houston fans will be happy to see that to start things off. I've got to get back to this usage of the Saucer Deco from Cheese here. Again, not often you see the Saucer Deco. I know we've talked about it a couple of times there, but you get to see usually the vanilla Saucer. You have the trip strikes that are readily available, but more often than not, I have seen that Zipcaster be used to great success overall. Windbreak, by the way, a huge, nice little pick, but just not enough at the end. But that, going back to that Deco, that really helped enable things as much as they could for the team. Rest team, of course, following suit, and Daybreak, for what happened throughout that game 1 there, Zach, having to rely heavily on that them any chance for the zones cap and buying themselves some time. Unfortunately, that follow-up kind of just followed suit, and that's how Houston gets that game 1, and honestly, that's a really great start for them, especially getting that KO.
Well, it will be time for Daybreak here to exercise the first counter pick that we're going to see on stream. For those unfamiliar, they are able to pick both the mode and the stage here, so they have a lot of control right now. The only stipulation is that if they have won a game previously in the set, they're not able to go back to any mode or any stage that they have won on previously, so those things would be out the window. Of course, Daybreak not having to worry about that right now as we look forward to game 2 of this best of 5. One other weapon that I think might have been a tough matchup, and one that maybe Daybreak might not have had to run into very often, is these Ooga Dualies. They have a very interesting kit. The Splash Wall preventing a lot of that, as we mentioned, hold forward movement style, and even something like the Ballpoint that was trying to use that Inkjet. Sure, you have the aerial maneuverability, but it's tough to hit weapons like that Saucer Deco when they're in their Zipcaster so often. It makes them such a difficult target to hit, and anybody, especially I think it was Breaking Bad there, that was caught out in the situations where that Zipcaster was able to get that little bit of chip damage off and finish off the combo there. So again, very interested to see where we end up, but such a great look at, as I mentioned, 7 arguably out of these 8 weapons, maybe 6 if you take out the heavy edits, are not really very often seen as we get into splat zones once again on Mahi Mahi Resort.
Yeah, Mahi Mahi Resort this time. This is the counter pick from Daybreak's end, and I can kind of see where the vision is, depending on how they want to dish out their comps. There it is. So we talked about, before we went live here, Zach, double Reef Slider setups are very much possible, along with the triple splashdown. Breakdown going to the Silver Spray here, so you have a chance for instant zone caps here in Mahi Mahi Zone, especially with how small the zone is. So that's the big change I noticed here from Daybreak. H-Town Rebels, by the way, no, we're not gonna ignore that the Splatling mini that is being dished out as well. So H-Town Rebels, though, even with the change of mini, which adds a little bit of an interesting dynamic to the team, they appear to not be missing a beat whatsoever. They got that first cap for at least for now. They lost 2. Zach right away. Daybreak has a chance to strike.
And I want to highlight one moment that happened there really quick. The Reef Slider actually ran into the Splash Bulb and got the pick anyway. So one instance where the Splash Bulb might otherwise have helped them actually ended up hurting them as they go down. We see Dio going forward here. They swapped over to the Mini Splatling. They're going to use that Ultra Stamp. These Mini Splatlings so quick at building up their specials. Icebreaker going to try and counter that. Does not find anybody and in fact finds a pincer attack as they go down. That's going to help the lead H-Town Rebels to reclaim the zone here. Kyon, the stage already going back down to its full effect here. Lots more area broken back out as Breakdown's going to try and re-enter with yet another Reef Slider that takes the zone.
This is just going to be probably the more annoying comp that H-Town Rebels is going to have to start to deal with right away here. The double Reef Slider is going to get instant caps of zones. It's going to give Daybreak opportunities to buy themselves the time. But the other thing you have to consider, one of them is a Silver Spray. That Silver Spray doesn't get a lot of doesn't have a lot of fighting potential because of how the shot kind of spreads itself across the map. So it's one thing you got to deal with for Daybreak is how do you get the follow-up after you burn the first Reef Slider from one player? And that's kind of what we're going to have to see right away here. Map does wind up here. H-Town Rebels gets the lead back, no problem. And they are looking to keep the pressure going here. Zach, here is another Reef Slider from Breakdown that only gets neutral. The Silver Spray drops immediately, and H-Town Rebels is still having control of the zone.
It almost feels like you're just rolling the dice there as we see multiple specials coming out from Daybreak. The triple splashdown as well as the Inkjet going to help to lock things down for Daybreak. Icebreaker going to find one there onto Cheeseballs using the wall to help limit where they are actually going. Gets a second one there onto Dio with the extent of that range. We haven't really talked about the Dreadringer. That's a weapon that definitely saw its heyday. Might not be in it currently, but is still a very effective weapon when used correctly complete. Trying to find the best spot for the Squeal Bomb, does not opt to put it on the zone. It's just trying to create an opening here. And you see this weapon here, the Glugadooli's played pretty defensively. Unfortunately, just does not have the range to take down Windbreak as Daybreak Kyon takes over that lead.
And Daybreak also eliminating 3 in the process as well, so this is going to be the extended push, and now you can see H-Town Rebels, they're having to just fly right in. They got to look for any semblance of picks or any other members that they can find out a way out of the board, and it looks like Cheese was definitely trying their best there. Dio trying to run right in with the Ultra Sand, but Breakdown is just going to get the cap of the zone back just in time, but not enough left. They lose way too much at the end of it. The wipeout is secured, and H-Town Rebels literally on their last breath, they get the cap of the zone. Major penalty points applied to Daybreak, and now H-Town Rebels will have to try to take advantage of this situation here, Zach.
Tough for Daybreak. You want to go all in, and you talk about going all in. That is a double on the throw from the Ultra Stamp. We're seeing that increasingly, that players do not deign to use it, especially when there's a height discrepancy, and you can see why. And that's the penalty points gone as H-Town Rebels continues forward. But here comes Daybreak. They have the Inkjet. It's going to create some space. Icebreaker. Can they take over the whole zone? They will. Nice job there. That special so critical on such a small zone like this one. They do have a hefty penalty to chew through, but that's everybody except for their Glugas down. The full wipeout now as Daybreak looking to keep that lead, and this map is fully blue.
Yeah, map fully blue. Breakdown, by the way, also using the Reef Slider to catch up the heavy edit from H-Town Rebels, and that's how we're seeing Daybreak at least be able to respond in kind. They're able to get Tracer actually coming out here with a major advantage, 3 versus 2 situation here, as you do get to see the Zipcaster be used by Cheeseballs. Gets the Zipcaster damage on the Breakdown. Breakdown drops just like that, trying to find the other member, but it's not going to be there. 56 seconds left. Main advantage to H-Town Rebels. Both teams trading zones right now. Breaking Bad gets the pick on the deal, but they're going to go down themselves, and we will see Complete and Cheese still trying to provide a little bit of pressure. They're just looking for any semblance of openings that they can find. There is a Reef Slider, 2 Reef Sliders. I take that back here. That is available. They burn 1, but they go on the same side. It doesn't matter too much because there's 3 members down, and Zach, Daybreak with their Reef Sliders has gotten the cap of the zone once again.
Yeah, the Gluga's surviving much longer than they probably should have, taking multiple shots there against the Splash Ball and coming out of it. They're right back into the action, backed up by Dio, and they are going to opt to use the full Ultra Stamp this time instead of throwing it. Breaking Bad goes down. Seeing if they can catch somebody on the jump. They might have gotten some chip damage there, but it's not going to be enough with about 10 seconds left to go. Cheeseballs getting on the Zipcaster, and here they go. Gets the height discrepancy. Seeing if they can find anybody, but good turnaround there by Daybreak, and we're going to look like going to overtime here unless Icebreaker has something to say say about it. They're not going to be able to get it, but they will reclaim it back. They had the backup Reef Slider anyway, but a back and forth game 2 is going to result in a nice counter pick in the win for Daybreak as they even up this set at 1.
You know, Zach, this is like the one counter pick you could kind of see coming from a mile away if you were going to run a double Reef Slider comp and triple splashdown. So many specials you can just throw right into that zone for instant caps, instant neutrals. You know the name of the game. And H-Town Rebels was having to fight everybody tooth and nail, to say the least, for anything that they can work off of. As you get to see multiple of these Reef Sliders just fly right in to at least try to enforce neutral on multiple occasions. And H-Town Rebels definitely had some fight left there, and it got a little dicey as well when Daybreak invested a lot from what we saw in that one push where it went down to the 1 point remaining. Daybreak was able to get things back because, of course, they got that double Reef Slider. They got every sort of control that they can work with. It's a great counterpick, honestly, from Daybreak, and now it's H-Town Rebels' turn to counterpick next.
Yeah, and it's crazy to watch running Reef Slider, especially double Reef Slider on a stage like this one, as well as against a splash ball player. It's kind of like playing a modified version of pinball. You're just kind of pinging off the different walls and boundaries and seeing if you can land it correctly. It takes quite a bit of skill, I would imagine, to land it correctly where you're intending to. And that's maybe part of why we saw that. But one of the initial things that we saw in that game in the first minute is going off the splash wall, effectively staying on it to get the pick to the person directly to their left. And of course, the ability to almost, if not entirely, take over this zone behind the boxes. So really, really fun game 2. That does now mean that neither team can counterpick into splat zones because both teams have won on that mode. So we will have to pivot now over to a different mode. And Kyon, I know you know these teams pretty well. Do you have any insight if our counterpick of Clam Blitz on Umami Ruins might favor any one particular team?
The only way that this can work out, especially if you're H-Town Rebels, you got the Vanilla Glugas as well, is I saw what they were trying to do with the mini splat lane there with the Ultra Stamp. If anything, from what we saw, but of course they had to work against double Reef Sliders in this situation. I don't think we're going to be seeing double Reef Sliders at all from Daybreak unless they wanted to just, of course, mess with us here for the most part and wanted any specific all-in composition. I think with Daybreak, from what we saw in game 1, they do have comps that run just the one single Reef Slider, and that's primarily their Dreadringer in this situation. So if for a map like Umami Ruins Clans, where the pathway to get to the basket is actually pretty narrow, you could see a weapon that will most likely have a Reef Slider to at least carve a path for Daybreak. But ultimately, both teams have been very flexible. I feel like anything can kind of go for this particular map.
Yeah, it's not a stage that has a ton of real estate to maneuver around in. You've got, of course, that elevated area in mid, that kind of rectangle that the anchors or backliners like to control. I know we've seen a heavy edit in these matches so far. That might be where they want to lock things down and make sure that even though there is kind of a moat around them where, you know, folks can flank around, and there are quite a bit of flankers, especially potentially on Daybreak as we get into game 3, locking down that center area is going to be critical. And also, it can be very tough to get out of your spawn, so you want to make sure you can claim control over that cylindrical area if you do have a longer range weapon. Dio will be sticking with the mini splatling here as we take a look. No Tri-Slosher, and Kyon, you do see that the double Reef Slider has made its return.
Well, this is where they prove me wrong once too many times, and I think this is the one read I will take the L on there, Zach. But hey, if this is the comp that worked for you, you gotta be able to take advantage of the ramp there and the potential to push, in any given situation. Right down, you're gonna just see them spam Reef Sliders to just clear out any pathways that they can against H-Town Rebels. But H-Town Rebels does have a lot of offensive firepower that they can use to their disposal. Right now, both teams are just kind of fighting each other out. It's almost just move forward, as you noted right here. Icebreaker is just trying to swim right in. They take out Cheese. Those 3 members have gone down. Icebreaker finds a double on top of it. The wipeout is secured, and Zach, already the first push has started for Daybreak.
What a phenomenal start. And there are clams around the basket that they can get. So they're already easily past the halfway mark. And look at how blue the rest of the stage is. And this is where it can be so difficult to get back once you're locked in that spawn. Breakdown going to go forward here with a Reef Slider. They're going to get punished for it. It is so much of a do or die special. And that will be 3 members down for Daybreak. But what an important start for a team that lost game 1 and was trying to keep the momentum going. Dio trying to catch any of those that are fleeing, but it's not going to find anyone here, Kyon, as H-Town Rebels finally locks down this center portion.
Two things went way against H-Town Rebels in that situation there. Just serendipitous clam spawns, and also the wipeout situation aided by the double from the Dreadringer themselves. I believe that was Icebreaker, if I'm not mistaken, that had that Dreadringer too. So this was kind of the worst case start if you are the H-Town Rebels. Granted, they have a lot of time to work with on the clock, but they will have to start materializing pushes one after the other. But you're also having to deal with, again, the same team that will just be in your face in any given situation right now. And so a lot of things can work in H-Town's Rebels favor, but they have to start with any semblance of control and just trying to find members out of the board. Right now, Icebreaker burning a Reed Slider and takes out complete, but it is going to be traded with their lives. Right now, H-Town Rebels, Zach, is still kind of stuck here. Maybe the Zeal Ultra Sand might give them an opening.
Yeah, that is going to provide a pick there. They don't see anyone down on this low ground. It is a tough place to find yourself. They do get a funny angle, and it's almost going to work out for them, but not quite. And Toast is going to have the tactical ready for them. Peas Balls taken out in their Zipcaster. That's one of the kind of interplay specials that we've seen, is that Inkjet versus Zipcaster special battle, as we've seen them get popped around the same times as each other as these teams try and counteract the playstyles of the other. But Dio already has the Ultra Scan back. Going to try and find it. It'll whiz over, but then catch Icebreaker in the back there. So that may create an opening, as there has still been no movement since that initial push. H-Town Rebels maybe with this Queen Up Bomb finally, and a Power Clam, 19 total claims in fact, to back them up. Maybe an opening to start.
Maybe an opening to start right now for H-Town Rebels, but you got to start cashing in here soon, because you're going to have to deal with Reed Slider spams across the board. They are going to lose two members on their own. Only one singular clam left on the tank, and that's all it's going to be. They're going to be delayed, wiped. Daybreak's defense does hold, but at least that cuts the deficit down by just a little bit here. If anything, close to halfway through those deficits. So right now there is another Reef Slider that's available. 3 clam back at base, but they did spawn a Power Clam of their own if they can take advantage of it. There is also the Inkjet that is being used instantly, complete, using the Booyah Bomb to at least get the defense and any room to work with here. But so far, Daybreak is stalling out for just for enough time, and a 2-member situation has gone down, and Deal's gonna get traded here by Breaking Bad. That might be enough for Daybreak to make something happen here. Windbreak gets the jump in. That will be the first. That will be one Power Clam spawn in. They will not get the chance to cash in on the second. They don't get out of the penalty points with that push there, Zach. It's another free clam opportunity for H-Town Rebels.
Yeah, you have to sort of weigh the opportunity cost there. Yes, they had the 2 Power Clams, but they're sitting on a pretty lead here that may go away as we see Break and Bad get to their Toast playing around this barrier here. They are able to get Icebreaker. They're maintaining this control. That's exactly what we forecasted, is trying to lock down this area that has the best high ground availability. They are sitting on the Power Clam is complete. Tries to go around, is trying to catch the members of Daybreak out. They are being hit from above, so they have to back off, and these angle shooters have actually done so much work in spotting out the members. It's been so nice to have a way for them to get through, especially for weapons that need that close range. But now we're seeing 2 specials come out. It's going to be the Ultra Stamp as well as Cheese Balls on the Zipcaster. They're not going to be able to quite find Breaking Bad, but they will provide enough of a distraction to get this barrier open with 20 seconds to go.
Yeah, the barrier is going to stay open, and more importantly, that is just one of the Power Clams that they use, and it's not the free clam back at base there, so they still have enough chance. They still have enough time to get another push started. They're gonna have to wait a little bit there for the basket to drop down, but for Daybreak, now it's your time to clamp down. They will have specials that can help provide a lot of coverage around the map if they need to. Breaking Bad is just gonna spawn a Power Clam and just throws it out. I think just trying to prevent any sort of clams from being picked up here from H-Town Rebels as much as they can. The triple splashdown picks out one. Another member drops as well. Toast is the one that holds the Power Clam, the keys to their hands there, but Toast is gonna be stalled off for time. Has to use the curling bomb, and Daybreak has clamped everything down on defense. It's exactly what you need to do in any situation, and Zach, the wipeout is just a cherry on top for Daybreak. That is game 3 going to Daybreak, and one more map when they can advance on to the next round in winners brackets.
Quite the back and forth game there, as we are going to see another rather blue stage at the end of things. Great job there by Daybreak to hold it down and go up 2-1 in the match. And here are some replays for you. You can see the great start that they got off to. It was already 20 points in with less than a minute gone by. And you can see so many times these Reef Sliders almost knowing that they're going to be taken out because of the end lag that comes off of that special once you use it. But even just getting a trade or a pick creates the opening that your team needs in order to move forward. And maybe that's why they opted yet again to go with the double Reef Slider special. There's the break, the initial one from H-Town Rebels. Dio with a pretty great job on the Ultra Stamp in both this game and the Mahi Mahi Splat Zones game, knowing when to throw it versus when to stick it out and to keep going forward with that special. So important because it is one of the better offensive weapons you have. And also, for Daybreak, the ballpoint doing its job of holding back the area that the heavy edit would otherwise want to control. You saw the success that H-Town Rebels did have when they were able to pop that Tacticooler right around where Toast is currently, that cushion or pillow. But it's something that H-Town Rebels will need to solve here as we await the counter pick going into a potentially deciding game 4.
And the way the counterpick is going to work, this is basically the last opportunity for H-Town to counterpick. If they were to force the game 5, now Daybreak gets that advantage there too. Now, of course, Daybreak would not be able to get back to zone, so there would not be any Reef Slider shenanigans on zones per context. But I am getting a little ahead of myself. Of course, there's Zach. The ultimate question for H-Town Rebels is going to be what the counterpick is. I am hearing word it is Mako Tower Control for the H-Town Rebels. Now, what we saw from games 2 and 3, crazily enough, just sticking to what the weapons that kind of suck in game 2, especially with Dio on that mini, which has not been an issue for them. It's just trying to figure out how to deal with the 2 Reef Sliders that are in play. I've been wrong about it in the predictions in terms of the Reef Slider counts. I wouldn't be shocked at Daybreak realizing if this has worked out really well against H-Town Rebels, they might run it back again.
Yeah, Dio is playing, what you could call pivotal or momentum-changing weapons. Things like a 52 and the Mini can really have an impact on the game that you're playing in just because of how fast they are or how quickly they build up their specials, the walls that they can throw out potentially. We've seen, the Glulugas do that same thing where they've been able to help control the pace of play. Now, we're going to a stage in Mako Mart that does have its areas, those low sort of alleyways next to the boxes where you can lock those entirely down with a splash wall, but otherwise it's decently open. So you're going to have to figure out the best places to throw that down if you're going to run a weapon with the splash wall. And otherwise, if you do deign to run 1 or even 2 Reef Sliders, there are some pretty straightforward pathways that you can use that to. Now, this does have one of the more expansive sort of backline or charger overlooks that any map has, so you're going to have to figure out a way to control that. I know both of these teams, with the exception of 1 or 2 weapons, don't run a lot of range, so maybe you're going to have to play around the box that sits just under the drop down area of where those either backliners or anchors like to sit and try and control pace of play that way, because that first checkpoint is at a very low elevation. It's basically just right down next to a huge uninkable wall that you're not going to be able to do anything with. And that's where, we've seen Booyah Bomb quite a bit. That might come down. Even a well-placed or arced Ultra Stamp could hit that and do some major damage, but teams know that they can either throw a Tacticooler down. Of course, teams should have those, and if not, Splash Wall is certainly helpful, but I think these teams pretty practiced. Mako TC, not an unusual combination for this stage and mode by any stretch of the imagination. We'll have to see if H-Town, who's been able to keep the momentum strong, has what it takes to turn it back around and go back to themselves as they were in that Game 1 victory.
And that's something to just keep an eye on there for H-Town Rebels. The only thing that we remember from Game 1, they didn't have the mini outright of the game. That could have just been a premeditated. It's probably the weapon that's going to work better for us in Hagglefish zone. So now we get to see Dio in that vanilla mini. The next 2 maps obviously didn't go quite well, but also that's also because Daybreak had the same weapon setups they had. Speaking of weapon setups, I've been informed that there was in fact a substitution from Daybreak, so the dynamics might actually change here in Mako Tower Control. I guess we'll get to see maybe in about a handful of seconds, to say the least, here, Zach, with what both teams want to dish out. Again, H-Town Rebels will need to win this map in order to stay alive in the tournament run here. So we go into this, and if I take a look right away, it is the Vanilla Slosher. It's going to be Daybreak, and Breaking Bad, I believe that is a 3rd kit Paintbrush with the Zuka, one that doesn't normally get airtime, I like to say there. And Dio, I believe, yes, has gone away from the vanilla mini back to the 52 gal here. Zach, what do you make out of this?
That is, in fact, the Paintbrush Burns from Breaking Bad. That is going to provide them with a Splash Ball. So we talked about it in the pre-lobby. Here's the areas to lock down with the Splash Ball as they throw it down and actually win the Splash Ball v Splash Ball weapon battle. Gets the pick on a complete, is looking for any shot there with that final. Trizuka is not able to get it, and that is going to be 78 for Daybreak. Dio locking Breaking Bad in the corner, even has the backup there from Complete to see if they need it, but is not going to be needed there. It'll be turned around right there by H-Town Rebels, and this is exactly what we need to see from them. They get control of mid, they don't get ahead of themselves, and they are watching this area under the sniper perch where really only a couple of members from Daybreak are finally struggling back to.
Yeah, and here comes that restart, by the way, from Icebreaker, which gets countered almost immediately with that Booyah Bomb as well. So that it might only slow H-Town Rebels for only a few bits. Their Windbreak does get a pick there with the Ancient. The wipeout is secured. There's a bit of an assist there from the rest of the Daybreak members there. So now they are able to move forward with this push coming up, and Breaking Back takes out Toast. The heavy-headed drops from that left side of the map, but Dio's able to counter back there, gets a pick of themselves, and that will still be the first checkpoint being cleared. Dio now combating, with Windbreak, and it looks like this will just be additional points, but not quite enough to get to the second checkpoint. The Trip Strike's not enough to provide extra coverage that Daybreak basically needs. H-Town Rebels, they lose the first checkpoint, but I don't think they're going to sweat it for too much longer.
A little unfortunate even on that second Trizuka shot. They just barely hit that bottom lip of the wall. Cheeseball is trying to go in. They cannot find anything with the Zipcaster. So Daybreak bunkering around each other, forming almost a triangle there to combat this incoming Zipcaster, which they know can deal some serious damage and that they have to take seriously as H-Town Rebels gets past. That first checkpoint is trying to take the lead there with 2 down for Daybreak. They will, and complete, opting to move forward, is trying to find either Windbreak or Icebreaker. Finds a couple shots, but they will have to back out 3v3 now as H-Town Rebels loses their ability to have a tactical with that heavy edit going down, but Daybreak losing an equal amount of members. Windbreak sitting on this Ancient, waiting for the opportune time to use it, as the Killer Whale 5.1 is going to have difficulty tracking them in the air. Cheeseballs with a second chance at this Zipcaster goes a little bit too far and cannot find anybody, so they will come back down. But that tower all the way up to 40, and for now, still going.
And still very much going to be the second checkpoint being cleared. That's a delayed 3 situation that is going to basically cause Daybreak to get out of spawn a little slower than intended, and they will have to defend this third checkpoint coming up here. They will take out all 3 of the 4 members. One had to retreat out of that, but that is pretty much your best case situation if you are the H-Town Rebels. Daybreak does have a lot of opportunities to come back. We've seen it time and time again right now, so they are going to have to see if they can make this one happen. It's a 2-for-2 trade. There's a bit of a brawl that has happened across the board. All of it happening in quick succession. It is still somewhat advantaged H-Town Rebels. They are in the delayed 3 situation. Zach, if anything, Tower's just going to reset at mid. This gives H-Town Rebels a chance to just have some control around mid and get some paint down on the ground.
And a reminder here that the third checkpoint is so late. They get to 15 and they don't even get through the entire third checkpoint as Complete goes down there to the paintbrush. It is an opportunity then for Daybreak to keep moving forward and see if they can get the pick with Breaking Bad. They miss all 3 shots. Very unfortunate. Cheeseball's basically just having to wait it out and dodge around the Trizuka, getting the pick, looking for the second, and sitting once again on that proverbial Zipcaster. They may wait for reinforcements, but they get flanked around and they take a little bit of action there, some shots before they're able to pop it. So they will go down early, getting closer to that minute mark, and Daybreak not letting up. They know that they need to have at least a couple of opportunities to push, because getting to 15 in one go, not the easiest thing to do.
The other problem right now for Daybreak is they have to get through that second checkpoint. That second checkpoint can be very easily contested. They're gonna have to rely on their entire team to make this one count. Expect the Paintbrush and the Vanilla Slosher to provide some extra coverage. The Trip Strikes are gonna be there. It's gonna be offensive Trip Strikes across the board. H-Town's defense, Zach, is crumbling a little bit right now. They're gonna need to get themselves back on track. The Restarter is used to provide some coverage around the right stack. There's 2 members that have dropped on Daybreak. The tower is slowly resetting here, and there is another pick. Windbreak does get one. It's a 3-down situation right now as Daybreak is going to wrestle the tower back, and now you get to see Icebreaker and Dealbreak, move to the left-hand side of the map. This is pretty much their best chance to get a push going. They will burn the Trip Strikes very early for coverage right now. Dio does drop. It's a 1-member down situation. The Zuka's being popped on the other side, and that's 2 members that drop. Cheese has to be clutched. The lead does change hands, and that's everybody going down just like that. Daybreak having to require 1 final push at the end, and that's all they needed. The KO is secured. It's a 3-1 victory for Daybreak, and that took everything that they needed out of their team to make that win count.
Daybreak wins the Battle of Texas as UT Austin takes down the University of Houston in 4 games in our first best of 5 here. 3-1 the match score, and we'll have some replays here. It's just a reminder as we see Dealbreak on. Again, we did not see this Vanilla Slosher essentially the entire time up till now. You mentioned how that was an offensive or early triple ink strike, but they had the other specials to back it up too. Breaking Bad applying the pressure with that Trizuka. Cheeseballs not able to get anything, even though they land effectively right on top of the tower, using that pole to get over there. Dio desperately trying to get up top, but effectively running into the entirety of Daybreak atop that tower. So they defeat multiple counter picks there from H-Town Rebels that would have maybe leaned in the direction of that team. They come in with that heavy edit, with that 52 that can be so dangerous. And of course, being adept with the Glugadulies and the Slosher Deco respectively, but they run into a brick wall in players like Windbreak. Look at where Windbreak is positioned. That is the perfect place to be when you're trying to push the counter. You get taken down and spotted at the very end there, but it is too little too late as Daybreak gets the 3-1 victory, and we'll see them in our winners semifinals. Nice job from them.
It's also a very interesting thing here because both teams will want to be in your face. They want to move forward all the time, and basically Daybreak got the better end of that. It's one of those cases where you would want, where in some conventions you might want to stay maybe middle to back to defend to defend as much as you can. You got a big lead ahead of you, but you're gonna be up against a team that will want to be in your face the entire way through. And Daybreak just took 3 major pushes almost at the very end, with the last one being the ultimate KO there to take that one home. And hey, Daybreak just played phenomenal and great adjustments all around. We're gonna actually just move right ahead to the next match on the board, and 2 teams I'm actually very familiar with, believe it or not. PSU Blue versus USF Gold, Penn State versus South Florida. This is our matchup, and both teams have a lot of history coming into this. Names that might sound familiar for you for PSU Blue: Vapor of TZS fame is on PSU Blues, and USF Gold has one player that dates back when Popgun played with them. Haya running out that USF Gold. Those are some notable players to know.
Yeah, a couple of, I guess you can't call them alumnus because they're the Splatoon 3 North American League is not over yet, but some players from TCS and Foams playing in this Division 1 side for CCA here. So very nice to see that going on. The games or the matches before this one, PSU Blue defeating Death Roll 3-1 in the winners quarterfinals, and USF Gold sweeping through Reef Runners to make it to this point. So the 2v3 matchup as it's shown here, and some pretty devastating players on both teams. We'll be very interested to see how this one works out. We will be starting as well on Splat Zones once again. It will be the stage we just saw. So we're going back to Mako Mart for this one. We're going to change the mode up a little bit, but I'm wondering, we saw so many different weapons that we don't normally get to see in high-level Splatoon, the Slosher Deco, the Glugadulies. Wondering how much that might change as we get into, the winter semis and 2 teams with completely different playstyles in a sense.
You know what's very interesting, Zach, is I've actually had a chance to see PSU Blue, especially at Riptide, knowing that group very well. You had Ryan. R10, by the way, I think the newest addition to the PSU Blue roster for this particular year, but they still have Snow, J-Money, and pretty much the main 4 that carried over from previous seasons. That is a team that usually runs, in most cases, one shot. You have the Expo, that's Vapor, of course, and an Ink Brush player that usually runs that groups. That's pretty much what I will expect to see from PSU Blue. I should not be surprised to see if Expo makes an appearance because it's usually Vapor in this case. USF Gold also had the chance to catch up with that Riptide as well. Anchor 2 pretty much headlining that group. Haya, by the way, as I mentioned before, the player that played with Popgun back when Destiny Troops was a thing. Back in Splatoon 2 era, is also playing with this group of phenomenal sword player as well. But you also got members like Ty TV, Captain Delta Fizzle, and Laco as well. So I think this actually could be fascinating. I believe, if I'm not mistaken in history, I'm sure Neptune's going to correct me here in just a few moments, USF Gold and PSU Blue may have played against each other on several occasions in the past. So this will probably be a very familiar match for both of them. But I know for the goal for both these teams is get to winners finals at the end of the day.
Yeah, and a more varied, a more evenly split, especially for USF Gold composition that they appear to be running. So, of course, they're going to have the Snipe Rider here, the blue pencil, and even potentially a heavy edit in the back pocket there. So you have a couple of potential tactical players, but then you have a player like Inker 2, lots of up-close and personal weapons. Maybe not as up-close and personal as a Sploosh, as we saw potentially in the weapon pool, but did not actually get to see in our last match there. But the Junior, the Splatter Shot, of course, the 10 attack if they wanted to bring that out. And then that Splash-O-Matic did not get to see any Crab Tank action from our first match either, but that's something that could potentially come out. And then Splatanas, definitely a weapon class that has been prevalent in the meta. Basically every variant of the Stamper, for example, has come through. The Stickers has really been popular. Of course, the Vanilla still there as well. And ones like the Splatana Wiper still obviously very crucial to the meta. You can also lump things like the Mint Decapitator in there. Interested that, you know, whether we'll see anything like that come through. And then on the opposite side of things for PSU Blue, Custom Explode. That's always a weapon that when I've fought it, I've been very scared to face because like Tri-Stringers, which we don't get to see very often either, they position themselves so well that you just have no means, especially for a player like myself running something like the Tri-Slosher, you just cannot get to them in time, and they are picture perfect with their aim. It is such a devastating weapon. If you let them get set up, kind of like we saw with the ballpoint splatling in the highlights of that last game, if they get set up on that high ground, it is already too late.
And Vapor, almost the primary player you would expect to see on an Expo, let alone the custom Expo as well, knows where he needs to be at any given position, and I would expect to see the exact same thing from him. We do get to see a quick preview of the lines there. Art 10, by the way, the undercover umbrella pocket player that we've seen for PSU Pass, of course, promoted to the main roster, will not be playing in Game 1, so we're probably going to be expecting, yes, it is exactly the combo you'll expect to see. So this is pretty much, so PSU Blue, a lot of the bread and butter goes with that custom Expo, the V-Shot, and the Ink Brush. J Money, of course, going to be sticking with that. Inker's going to have that T-Tech. Haya, of course, on the stickers Stamper. That's the one with the Booyah Bomb as well. And to your point, with any cooler options that USF Gold has, they're going to run with that heavy edit here, Zach. That's how we're teeing up this Mako Zones map.
We see the Ink Brush trying to get around. We may have a close-range weapon battle here. The Carbon Deco's going to lose it out. Great wherewithal by the Ink Brush to win that, doing some sharking there on the wall as Haya is forced to jump out at the hands of V. So PSU Blue going to take the advantage here. Ironically, not in blue for this one. They're going to be in the orange as V backing off. Nice initial shots. Cannot find Inker. Just does not have the range, but they are going to content themselves with building up that Trizuka. Will get Haya there. And you can see USF standing up and scrambling as some of them opted to jump down and others did not. So a split decision as some were ready to move forward, and Inker, for example, moved back. They do have the tactical here, Kyon, and they're going to try and move forward with the triple Ink Strike, but already PSU Blue passed the halfway mark.
PSU Blue past the halfway mark. They're also winning a lot of the fights that they need to keep the advantage in their favor. Sure, you do lose Vapor for about a split second, but it's still an opening that they can contest. It is a very heavy frontline team that they're having to deal with right now. That is from USF Gold and Penn State. Right now, with all the control in the world, they are looking to see if they can take this home to the KO, but there's the Booyah Bomb, the trip strikes. They don't get neutral, Zach, which is unfortunate. PSU Blue retains control zone. They're just fighting for the zone at this last moment. They barely get it at the final hour effectively. USF Gold with any semblance of life is still has it. They're having to wrestle this one home. It's gonna take a phenomenal push basically to get them close to range. They're not gonna be able to do it on this push though. PSU Blue has to control the zone back. That was wild.
This game is just full of ironies. We've got USF Gold, but they're blue. We've got PSU Blue, but they're gold. And then we have a triple Ink Strike and a Booyah Bomb come through that gets painted over, but then they lose the zone after that. It just does not make any sense to me. We are playing in the Twilight Zone effectively as we see Thai TV go down on the zone and PSU Blue trying to claim back and show their dominance once again after just letting their foot off the gas for a second as Vapor on that custom Expo in a very optimal position here, basically as high a ground as you can deign to get without something like a Zip Caster aiding you. Getting already through a good chunk of their penalty here as USF Gold trying to push back in. We mentioned Haya on that stickers, trying to see if they can find anybody. Already used the Booyah Bomb, seeing if they can get snow, but they run out of ink. A tough situation to find themselves in, but that's what good teammates for. They get backed up, and USF Gold claims that zone back as a result.
Yeah, but the other thing too, PSU Blue only needed for a split second. Vapor understanding, hey, I can use this triple splashdown, get control of the zone back, especially with this plus-shaped zone that Mako Zone provides. That triple splashdown gets every corner of it as much as it could. And right now, USF Gold though, with firm control of the zone, this is basically where PSU Blue may start to be a little nervous here with the way this game is materializing. They will need to find members. The heavy edit going down is going to help their cause, as that is a possible cooler option that need to be right away to be out of the picture. There's the triple strikes being used for zoning, but it's past the zone. Vapor is going to basically get control of the zone, no matter what the cost was going to be. And right now, this back and forth action, USF Gold slowly whittling away the deficit here, if anything, Zach. But right now, PSU Blue has control of the zone, maybe for a little bit. USF Gold has another chance to strike.
Yeah, another chance to strike, and they're doing a great job at coming back from what was almost a 100-0 KO. It does not look like it so much anymore on the board as USF Gold's gotten past the halfway mark. Haya just having to content themselves with hot shots for the most part as they cannot get anyone from PSU Blue to move close enough. And now Snow and V are opting to take that chance. Ty not getting their prey within the range that they would like, even not able to find the shot there with the sub weapon, the burst bomb. V seeing if they can find anybody with the protection of that wall, but now Ty finds the prey that they're looking for a second, but does not see anyone, and they will have to find this zone instead. And now with a minute left to go, USF Gold losing some of their reinforcements, but PSU Blue losing some of their own as well. Nice shot by Snow to not lose their footing as they hold on with that 52. Such a devastating weapon that we've now seen in both matches that we've casted here. Kyon, Ink are ready with the triple Ink strike, and they are moving forward as we see it.
Yeah, they're moving forward right now, but they have lost a lot of members past the trip strikes there. Only 2 members alive. I don't think that's going to be enough time to paint over the zone when they really needed it the most. USF Gold, valiant effort at the very end, somehow getting the cap despite Booyamon and trip strikes getting neutral. Just does not have enough left in the tank. PSU Blue clamps everything down despite the scare. PSU Blue takes that first game 1-0. Of course, it is still counter-picks now. USF Gold has some maps that they can work off of right now, but for PSU Blue, that's the start they needed despite how scary things got.
Yeah, hopefully better for their mental to be starting not with a 100-0 KO. Sometimes maybe those are better because you say, okay, that was a fluke, you know, we get through it. And here is that sort of preposterous double special usage that was invisible almost. PSU Blue, great job of just painting right through it, but they expend all of their ink tank on those 2 specials. You could even maybe say that was USF Gold's plan all along, is just to get them to use everything in the tank on those 2 specials and then follow it up with their full ink tanks from having used their special. We see Vapor there locking it down with the triple splashdown. Once you're using that special with somebody right under you, it's almost too late. And a high there, a focal point for them in that loss. Unfortunately for USF Gold, they now, as you mentioned, get the opportunity to counterpick. Could go to splat zones if they wanted to. Of course, they have not won a game yet, so they don't have any restrictions outside of the map pool, of course, on what they can counterpick into. And would be interested to see if they want to run it back on splat zones as the mode, or if they think their strengths lie elsewhere on something maybe more hectic like a Rainmaker or a Clamlet.
Well, it's going to be none of those 3 options, Zach. It's going to be tower control from the word I'm hearing. Inkblot TC.
Of course.
A tale as old as time, it feels like. I feel like all the talking as I talk in competitive Splatoon is, oh boy, it's Inkblot TC counterpick. Once again, it's back almost as standard as ever. And in this case for USF Gold, I think with the comp they just ran, you saw they had a Booyamom and the Trip Strike options are available. This is just almost the GG specials of Eternity, but the problem is they got to get the lead off of this. So they're gonna have to deal with what with this map against. I would not be surprised if PSU Blue sticks with the same weapons that they did previously. So this is gonna probably be a case of USF Gold trying to match what PSU Blue's aggression and just working as a cohesive unit.
I might argue that getting to 1 on splat zones and coming back from that as the other team is easier than your opponent getting to 1 on TC and then having to come back from it. There's so many fights that you need to win, so many moments where the objective is quite literally stationary that you need to defend against. And as you mentioned, Kyon, so many quote-unquote GG specials potentially at the ready to tear apart anybody who is on that tower. As we see a double killer whale comp still coming out here on the side of PSU Blue, and on the opposite side of things, mostly just running it back here. They're going to have that heavy edit. They're going to have the carbon deco. And this is a pretty decent stage for it, as we see B already going down as USF Gold tries to look for any way to get into mid.
Yeah, any way to get into mid, and especially eliminating 1 is gonna be very nice for them. But Snow's still punching from the left side of the map, and they will eliminate 1. They will eliminate 2 actually, and now moving up forward. Now trying to get down, pretty much invading the bats. They get a quad. That was a quad, I believe, from Snow as well, and that just opened the door for PSU Blue to get the first checkpoint near guaranteed. As everybody's now just pushing forward, Snow finding that opening from the bat side, and Platts even is basically getting PSU Blue the offense that they need for this push to materialize. And now that they're approaching the second checkpoint.
These high-level 52 players almost make it look like they have the run speed of an ink brush or another brush-type weapon. They look like they're running through enemy ink without an issue the way they're moving around, as USF Gold trying to now play that defense, and they do climb on top of the tower, but not before PSU Blue. It's past the halfway mark yet again. Haya trying to find the best spot for this Booyah Bomb, cannot catch anyone on the drop down as Jay had already moved over to the tower. Snow in a tough position here. Not going to be really easy to get around there. The splash wall with that angle not going to save them, unfortunately, as Ion moves forward. They are going to have the tactical at the ready. That's not a special that can be broken, as Inker's going to supplement that with the triple Ink Strike. That's going to catch at least one PSU Blue member out, and now Kyon an opportunity for USF Gold to make their first push.
Big opportunity right now for USF Gold. They eliminated Vapor. They also eliminated the brush there. So you got skirmishing weapons and the backline being gone. This is their chance to invade PSU Blue's territory right now. But there is a Zuka, and all of the members around USF Gold, around this tower, has all went down. They drop a third. Haya doesn't even get anybody with the Booyah Bomb whatsoever. The wipeout is secured, and a second checkpoint not quite reached for USF Gold in this case. PSU Blue now returning the same response. Those squad earlier allowed them to invade USF Gold's base. They're gonna do the exact same thing here. Now with the second checkpoint being cleared, this gives them a chance to look for more points, look for the third checkpoint if they can. J Money now defending the tower pathing, if you will, trying to see if they can find anybody else in the picture. There's a Zuka being fired from distance. Everything happened on the backside, and that is a triple situation. USF Gold now having to spawn back on defense as quickly as they can. That's a delayed wipe. 16 points remaining is the score right now. PSU Blue running rampant, but they lost too many members in the process. The third checkpoint not quite cleared. And somehow or some way, USF Gold does not let the third checkpoint drop, but they did lose more points on the board.
We saw tons of irony in game one. How about multiple members of PSU Blue setting themselves up on that left side high ground, and 3 members of USF Gold going down instead in that court area where the art installment was. So just threatening essentially their presence, and multiple members lost there as they get up to 16, and now USF Gold trying to take it all back. Again, we see that battle of the close range weapons. This time, Thai TV gonna win it over the Ink Brush there as they're sitting on that Trizuka. Definitely a special that they want to have for this push. As you mentioned, Kyon, they do have to make it past that second checkpoint, and they're gonna start it out strong. Vapor gonna go down using one of the triple Ink Strikes behind just to see if there's a flanker or to get that Ink Rail, and then throwing the rest forward. They are going to lose 2 members, now 3, as it's just going to be Thai TV jumping in, the full wipe out now, and that is still going to be a problem for them. Kyon is yet again do not make it past that second checkpoint.
I saw what the vision was with the trip strikes. They were focusing onto the left side, onto that left bat side, and that was what basically what was supposed to be the setup to eliminate a couple members from PSU Blue. They get nobody out of that. They lose 3 around the tower, and that is why we don't see the second checkpoint being cleared. A few members already being dropped. I believe Azuka got 1 as well. The dribble splash down is also going to be put down into this mix, and PSU Blue is just holding this tower around USF Gold's base. A minute left to go on the clock. Trip strikes just kind of being thrown across the board, trying to move PSU Blue around a bit. But Zach, USF Gold needs a little bit more right now. Losing 2 members is not going to help, as PSU Blue is trying to assert control of this game the rest of the way.
The one time USF does not want to see a map covered in gold is with PSU Blue here in the gold ink. They're trying to get this map back. Thai TV has been playing around these boxes effectively the entire time. That time running into a pincer maneuver by J and B. Talk about a varsity play there from J and B, as Vapor trying to push forward here with the triple, a splashdown, just waiting for anybody to get too close on the tower. But they're playing with house money here. They're just making it more difficult for USF Gold to try and push forward, and they have to expend some specials early. That's the triple Ink Strike coming out here, not finding anybody, nor is it really getting a ton of map controls yet again. PSU Blue in a position to put it back. They are going to get one pick there, and the tactical will come down, but they lose 3 members right on top of each other. Effectively a delayed wipeout and a celebratory Trizuka to put the cherry on top, as PSU Blue will take a 2-0 lead in this match.
Zach, one person will come to mind and probably be the nightmares for USF Gold in this particular map. Snow on the 52 gal is the big player to look out for in that entire game. The quad to basically allow that push to start right away, give the PSU Blue to work with. And then at the very end, I believe Snow got several picks. That was basically USF Gold in a scramble situation, trying to get rushed into the tower to at least get the OT. But Snow was at the right place where they needed to make this one count. This is the replay, by the way, of the quad. I believe this is a delayed quad, if you will, but it may as well be one for sure. As yeah, they invade to the back. Thai TV had to retreat. Fizzle just had no sights where Snow was, and this is just how that first push came to happen. And I mean, in most situations, you can see where the idea was. Maybe you could wanted to run tower control if you're able to get the lead. The problem is for USF Gold never got lead at any given point in this game. It was basically PSU Blue from minute 1 taking that one all the way home. And this is PSU Blue, one more for the sweep and a matchup in winners finals waiting for them. This is what PSU Blue needs right now if they want to keep this momentum going and possibly look for that division finals setup.
I mean, in the previous play, Snow was backed entirely into a corner. You were sure that they were dead to rights and somehow survives
Yep.
and even gets picks. And you're absolutely right. That's 2 and then 3 with the form of a trade being taken out by Snow alone. Part of why the 52 gal is such a devastating weapon to go up against, and also why it did so much work in that game. Such an important piece to have. Also has the protection with the splash wall, and if you leave it to survive, especially when they are quite literally backed into a corner, they are such a force to be reckoned with. Even I believe before being backed into that corner with about a minute 40 left, taking out the Trizooka user, which could have even more done damage after that first pick that they got. So now looking forward here, USF Gold trying to find a way to go through. They did not win on tower control, so they can still counter pick to tower control, and that's where we're going to go as we move on to Undertow Spillway.
Undertow Spillway tower control, probably, in my opinion, probably the more uncommon map mode that usually gets seen. You can favor other tower control maps, like of course Inkblot TC in this case. So Undertow TC is gonna be the pick, and I wouldn't be shocked if the idea was to weaponize the specials with the weaponize the trip strikes and the booyah bomb specials, excuse me, to great effect. But this is gonna be an intriguing map to say the least. Though you kind of saw that PSU Blue pretty much had USF Gold's number the entire time from that Inkblot TC. I think you could probably deal with a different map shape, map terrain, if you will, in Undertow TC. This could be a few things that could mess up PSU Blue, but for USF Gold, the fact that they are going back to TC is kind of good, is to me a little interesting to watch.
Yeah, kind of an ultra rare stage and mode combination pick, if you will. This is much more of a Rainmaker stage. You most commonly see that. You occasionally see the 2-zone map for splat zones, and now we're going to tower control, and we'll have to see if this is going to be the start of what would need to be a reverse sweep for USF Gold as we get set for game number 3 on an unusual stage mode combination or venue, if you will. And let's take a look at any potential swaps. Still going to see the Ink Brush and the Custom Explo. On the opposite side of things, it's going to be Inker there on that order shot. Otherwise, Ty TV sticking with the Carbon Roller, Haya on the stickers, and Fizzle still with that heavy edit. So interesting to say that they are confident in their loadout choices as we get set with game number 3.
Yeah, really the only tweaks you have is you go away from the trip tricks to now the Zook, and you got a little bit more range, still a little bit more combating ability from Inker. But again, the same questions apply. You have a very aggressive front line with Vapor pretty much allowing the mid and back lines to be supported here. The question for USF Gold is how do you break through and try to catch Vapor off guard, because right now PSU Blue is not going to allow that to happen, because the Zuka gets the pick onto Haya there, and a couple members have dropped. This Undertow TC counterpick is starting off disastrously for USF Gold. J Money's pretty much waiting in the wings. They know where Inker and everybody else is at, and that is basically going to be 3 down versus 2. But Vapor, the backline is pretty much alive, is trying to catch everybody by surprise, but is not going to be able to take advantage of it. And this is not the start you want for USF Gold. In this case, 2 checkpoints gone, down to 36 points remaining for PSU Blue.
Yeah, Vapor wanted to leave them with a parting gift, but is not able to catch anyone. Will back off USF Gold, who finally gets the defense here, and now Haya having to use the Booyah Bomb in a not very optimal position. Again, kind of out in the corner, not really able to find either the middle of the stage or anyone with that Booyah Bomb, so tough draw there. We'll have to see if they can get anyone and dodge out of the way of the multiple specials that are lambasting them as they get the Trizooka and the Killer Whale on their toes. Now the counter Trizooka coming out from Inker, but Jay unabashedly moving forward here and does not mind this uninkable area at all. Just completely ignores the spawn protected Ty TV and gets the pick onto Haya. So great job there with the target priority. And yet again, PSU Blue extending their lead as they almost clear and now successfully clear the final checkpoint.
Yeah, they might be able to bring a lot more. The answer is very much yes. Vapor's going to be the only one running the tower all the way home. The game is basically over. Forget your tower control counter breaks. We know exactly what to do. PSU Blue 3-0 sweep over USF Gold. I mean, in this situation, you had to wonder, maybe the counter breaks for tower control not optimal. PSU Blue kind of just stuck with the 3 front lines, and of course, Snow on that devastating 52 gal pretty much just said, all right, the story's done. We're going to go on to winners finals.
The most emphatic game of the series ends, as you might expect, considering the previous 2 results. And great job by the few players that were just doing such a great job. We will finish out these replays here and see PSU Blue doing such a wonderful job. You can see, I think, the double there with the Trizuka, and then almost the celebratory of the triple splashdowns there from Vapor, who was the designated person staying atop the tower most of the time. That enabled players like Jay to move forward. And again, watch this target priority just completely dodges tight DP, even does a little just weave right around on the left-hand side, and then takes down Haya, has the follow-up from V to take them out. So a great job there. Loved seeing that series. I think we will go now to a quick break as we get set up, but do not go anywhere. We will have more action, including winners finals, in just a moment.
Shape the mind, speeding up the pace, turning up the heat, where I need to be for the first time. I'm taking risks, I'm casting off without a lifeline. Break away, forget your sober case. Stop dwelling on empty words, stop stalling in the doorway, and cancel the cruise control. Switching in the manual. Don't you wanna feel right again? Don't you wanna feel whole? Don't you wanna feel?
Welcome back, everybody, from our quick break here as we get winners finals queued up here in Division 1. I'm still Kyon. Zach's still very much with us as well. All right, Zach, this is going to be a team you might have some level of familiarity in terms of the players. Lost Creaturas versus PSU Blue. PSU Blue we saw earlier. Now, Lost Creaturas out of VCU. Now, you might be wondering what this team is about. You got members from Big Fat Sea Cows with Lux. You get the former Last Resort player in Havoc, and then the Crush Soda player in Thunder. Good luck, BSU Blue, I guess, is what people will say. This is a pretty loaded roster coming into this one, Zach.
Yeah, loaded doesn't really cut it here. Havoc and Thunder, not strangers to the competitive scene at all. And you just look at the weapons that they're playing. This is much more in the wheelhouse of what we're used to seeing. V-Slosh, being, I would think, the primary choice coming out from Havoc. They have Fox backing them up with multiple weapons that we deign to see fairly often, but haven't really seen a ton of in the first couple of matches, namely the Snipe Rider 5H, as well as the Winter there, the Rapid Blaster Pro, and Fairy Light Lux rounding it out with the both Wiper and Vanilla Decap. We've gotten to see the Sticker Splatana Stamper in our last match. Now we get an opportunity to see maybe some of what the other Splatana class weapons have to offer. And on the opposite side of things, the continuation of PSU Blue, we got to see that combination of J and V. I made the sort of JV varsity joke earlier, but they really do work as a great 1-2 tandem to, play around each other. And if one goes in, they have the support of the other to back them up. Usually it's the Ink Brush followed up by, in that last game, the Order Shot or something similar, that sort of short range shooter class weapon. And then rounds it out really with, that custom exploder really keep them grounded. Starting out here, as we can see on screen, the one non-counterpicked game that we will have with Splat Zones yet again, and it will be Mahi Mahi. We have already seen one today instance, Kyon, of Splat Zones Mahi Mahi Resort, and it was pretty quick to get into the full extent of the map so that everything could be in use.
Yeah, most definitely. And the one we saw was a team that wanted to run that has ran double reef sliders. We're not going to see any of those shenanigans most likely coming into this matchup here. Now, the other dynamics I want to note here too. PSU Blue, this group of 4 has been together for a long while. In fact, they had a really strong placement at Riptide. Last I remember, around top 15 range as a team. Yes, this team, not just collegiate, also in the main tournament here as well. So they have that cohesion, that team synergy, if you will. But they're up against a VC roster with, very illustrious players, Havoc and Thunder. I know people want to be talking about, okay, will some of these talented players with big fat sea cows of seasons past do well? And I think this is going to be ultimately the bigger story, is what wins out. A team with the team with players with so much experience, or a team that has that cohesion, that team synergy, if you will, coming into this winners finals.
Yeah, and it's not something that you necessarily want to sugarcoat. It is probably going to be an uphill battle for a PSU Blue team that does have the experience, both competitively and together as a team, to put up a strong fight. But it is going to have to come out with an emphatic start. I think you're going to really want to show your stuff on this, what could be considered more neutral stage and mode combination here. And you look at, the teams that even made it to day 2. You look at, there's some teams we didn't even get to see, like Death Roll. They've been around in CCA for quite some time, and didn't get to see RIT, which was coming out, and USF Gold we got to see against PSU Blue just now. Just a plethora of great teams. And of course, we will have losers action for you after this one to see who can make it back out and come into the grand finals. But to determine the first team in our grand finals, it is going to be tough, as Las Creaturas getting a sweep in both the winners quarters and winners semifinals. So they have not been on the receiving end of a losing battle, nor have they had to counterpick at any time today for day number 2 of these CCA finals. But it looks like we're just about ready. Let's get started with the winners finals here between Las Creaturas from VCU versus PSU Blue here on Splat Zone's Mahi Mahi Resort. Taking a look at the compositions brought today, we do finally see a Snipe Rider 5H, some regular Splat dualies, so that is going to give us a Crab Tank to look at. And on the opposite side of things, coming out with an NZAP to provide PSU Kyon with that tactical alert.
This is interesting. The substitution has Artan coming in, getting their first appearance here. I think you're going to have to see the dynamics start to change for PSU Blue. You got that cooler option readily available if they want to take advantage of it. Last Creaturas, by the way, applied to you is Thunder, just to get the clarification out of the way here. So they are coming out with a strong lineup, and PSU Blue, they are going to punch first. But here comes Thunder, by the way. They already get the first onto the B, looking to target Artan. The second one has also fallen, and then now Snow having to retreat. That opens up the door for just by just a bit here. PSU Blue and Las Creaturas all pretty much trading there, but VCU in this case will get the lead. Fox providing some backup with the pencil right away, and right now for PSU Blue here is going to be stuck at base for just a little bit longer, and Las Creaturas has some really good control right now.
You look at what the Crab Tank can do, and it's no wonder why they brought it to this stage in mode. You can also see that the roll from the dualies is able to get them on that high ground with ease as the noise goes off, that we are going to have the full stage at the disposal of both teams, as Las Creaturas is going to pass halfway mark. B trying to use one of their signature Trizukas, will not find anybody, but did not have great sight lines, just had a couple of narrow windows to shoot through here. V playing around these boxes, but gets spotted out almost instantly. Arctan flanking around, trying to get the jumper. They're not quite able to. One of the rare moments when you see a support player just fully going in, but had the wherewithal to, because not many members of Creatura were left. And now we get to see finally, Kyon, how PSU Blue handles being on the offensive.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big question. I think that was, the Sniper to get the tap shot takes out Snow. Snow who played a phenomenal series last one, getting eliminated here. As Thunder's being targeted, the Will has found Thunder in this case, but they are still able to paint over the zone. Now they're going to come in from the flank, and they're getting collapsed on, but it is just enough time for them to get the control of the zones back. It's just going to be a small bump of the road. They're going to have to chew through these penalty points here soon. Lux does to get the trade. Vapor is still trying to stay alive for as long as they can. If anything, gets a double. Vapor gets a double. 3 members have dropped. PSU Blue will be out of the penalty points here soon. The assist is there. That's a delayed wipeout, and PSU Blue out of the penalty points will be able to continue this run here, Zach.
That is a signature move from a tenured player here. Even when they're basically stuck in enemy ink, they position themselves so well. No dodging and diving their way around. I think they actually sent Snow into a watery grave there, whether by intention or by design. They're going to follow that up with a pick onto Arctan, and that is going to allow Las Creaturas even expending the triple ink strike, which they did not need for the zone, to help them push forward and force PSU Blue maybe back up above to that court area of B, trying to move forward here, but they take some extra chip damage from that sneaking shot there. Fox trying to see if they can get anyone on the height disparity, and it's interesting that they're playing more so around the zone and on this cover than they are killing around any sort of high ground.
Yeah, that's a great point there. Not playing towards that high ground could be an interesting thing to witness the way the more of this game progresses. Vapor is dropped by Thunder again on the crab tank there, and that is going to be the backline gone. That is going to now be everybody from the front line, so they're trying to move forward here. They are expending as much as they can onto the zone, but they are only getting trades here of the zone, and they lost a couple members in the process. Not enough firepower is left. It's just Vapor that's still alive, and PSU Blue just runs out of gas at the very end. A competitive back and forth, Zach. You could see semblance of light that PSU Blue had, but it just wasn't enough. And Las Creaturas, by the way, keeping their undefeated streak going coming into this, and they're up 1-0 to start.
But you took the words out of my mouth. Signs of life is exactly what we just wanted to see from PSU Blue. We know both these teams are going to just be figuring themselves out, seeing where they stand with each other. Again, sort of a neutral ground area to start us on. And I think both of these teams can feel comfortable coming out of that game. Of course, Las Creaturas had a great opening start. They do lose the zone first, but they're able to follow it up with a great crab tank, which is popped immediately there by Thunder. Takes that alternate shot to the face is V from PSU Blue, and then gets the shots onto Arctan, who was otherwise distracted. And then here, Vapor with these great shots. This is going to, I think, be their delayed at triple, helping out Arctan, who went down. A Lux, who was quite literally just backed into a corner, not anywhere else that they could go. The benefit of having just a wide pane of ink with one shot under your feet is that you can get around and gets an important pick there onto Thunder, and then follows it up by finding Havoc, that sort of Kobe shot all the way into the high ground. That's exactly what you would want your custom Explode to be capable of. So a beautiful start here as we wait for game 2, and it looks like Kyon, the mode has already been decided with Rainmaker, unless that is just a holdover graphic.
No, it is not a holdover graphic. This is going to be the mode of choice. It's Humpback Pump Track Rainmaker. These, according to the source that we have right now. And Zach, that's actually going to be an interesting map that we're going to get to see here today. If you're PSU Blue, you come out of that map, honestly, you'll probably be fine. You know you can compete and keep things close right then and there. You just have to build what you can in terms of your targets that you got to focus on. BCU, again, a little dicey there, but at the end, they got able to clamp things down and they knew what they needed to do at the end. So with this counterpick coming in with this Humpback Pump Track Rainmaker, you get this more condensed map. You still have, most likely you will still have Vapor kind of manning the mid and back line while the rest of the team just moves forward and play aggressive as a unit. It's good. How do you basically find some of those key members, especially Thunder, who just went off on those splat dualies? I know we are talking about Thunder a lot, but we cannot underestimate how important those dualies and those crabs were in the previous game.
So we go Rainmaker, Humpback Pump Track, kind of like Undertow Spillway. It is the hallmark mode for that stage. You don't often see anything else. And like Undertow Spillway, both of these stages house what I like to call a horseshoe of doom, where you turn sort of a 45-degree angle, and it is so tough. You're basically having to go through from that first to that second checkpoint across the spawn area of your opponent. So if they have any kind of range, you have to be very careful with your footing. Havoc playing a weapon after my own heart. I believe that to be the Tri-Nouveau coming out. That is going to be a double tactical composition coming out, as Fox will stay on that Snipe Rider. Lux, of course, with the Sultana Wiper. And on the opposite side of things, we see them getting an early pick against those Splat Julies.
Thunder just going down to the Rainmaker bubble to start. That is, if anything, PSU Blue getting full control of mid, and a couple members all dropping down on the side. J Money, by the way, flanking in with the brush, and Thunder is going to be cornered, but is actually going to get the trade onto one. It does buy themselves a lot of time for the checkpoint to be cleared. For very fast start for PSU Blue with the first checkpoint already being cleared out of the way here. They are going to lose a couple of members there, as we know that there too. This triple frontline setup, the 1-2 punch you notice at the beginning of the set is still trying to look for value as much as they can. The Ultra Sand, by the way, perfectly placed. They do take out Vapor. Rainmaker going to reset. First checkpoint cleared. That's a great start, if anything, for PSU Blue here, Zach.
You said the word perfect. I'm going to go with you could not ask for a more perfect start if you were PSU Blue. They get that checkpoint, and I think they were smart in waiting for it to go forward, but the ensuing fight just did not go their way. Thunder going to have some opposition there on the left-hand side, so they will not find anything with the end of their crab tank, but does spot B as the range of it is able to just barely get out of the way of the Rainmaker shots that are meant almost entirely for them. That's Vapor spotting him out with 3 straight, and they will just have enough time to jump out here, but Vapor, for the second time today, going to pick up this Rainmaker and try to move forward. They'll try and find a way around this again. Horseshoe of Doom, and Thunder backing off. They'll have some range to also have the crab tank, so patience is the name of the game. Snow, not in a great spot. Vapor goes a little bit too far forward, and that's going to be a stalwart defense from Rage from Las Creaturas.
I mean, this is a great defensive pull for Las Creaturas. Yes, only 1 point capped. If anything, just moved a centimeter forward there for PSU Blue. Now this is going to be a counter push here with Havoc going to be on Rainmaker duty to start, and now you get to see the pencil being in a position where you can provide a lot of expansive paint coverage there across this checkpoint. This is going to be the first checkpoint already cleared because a couple members have all gone down, and now we're at a checkpointless game here with J Money and V trying to defend with all their might. Thunder does finally get the checkpoint. I missed the spot earlier where they just went down, but Lux using that Ultra Sand immediately getting the pop onto this Rainmaker. They know they can move forward by just a little bit. That will be the lead change, but the Rainmaker drops. PSU Blue is clamping down. The triple splashdown is going to land, but Vapor does go down for their efforts. J Money is stuck in no man's land. The wipeout is there, and this could be the lead for Las Creaturas.
Havoc going to be moving forward. They do have the tactical rebuff, and that's going to give them the lead. Backed up by Thunder there on the crab tank. They do wait and see if Vapor's going to opt to come down here. They are waiting out both the splash ball and the couple of bombs that were coming through. They'll extend it to 27. Thunder's still alive, although they're going to be having to play around this box. Some nice shots there onto Jay, but Jay will wear them out. The wipeout against Las Creaturas, and I will say, Kyon, this is really a game of inches. They could have had a push much earlier, but they get stopped at 62 by the couple of specials coming their way, and then they lose Thunder to get that checkpoint. So even though they get to 27, you could argue maybe even a bigger push was coming their way if they were able to get that first checkpoint earlier.
That is exactly correct. The few seconds that it bought them could have been a very devastating push up ahead. And PSU Blue trying to play a little bit of control there because they realize they can't find anybody else across the board that they can take advantage of. Having a Lux, by the way, on the backside, it's taking 2 frontline members to put focus onto them as Vapor is gonna go down. They don't find Thunder at the end of it, and now members of PSU Blue slowly trickling down, going down left and right. I'm not sure what word I'm trying to use there. Excuse me. As Thunder, by the way, on this crab tank, trying to defend this push with all their might, but it's not gonna get much value. In fact, this Rainmaker gonna go where it stands. Zach, a minute and 20 seconds left to go on the clock. Zuka, by the way, perfectly finding Lux. There is still actually a lot of time with the way this map is kind of shaped. It's a condensed map. One strong push from PSU Blue could change things around, but they're gonna have to break through and look for picks right away.
And I would say if you're the underdog, just about any pick that you can get is perfect as long as you're able to do a trade or better. That's going to be 2 going down there as the Inkbrush getting up close and personal. It's just going to be the Splatana and the Splat Dualies left. Will Vapor have enough wherewithal to get through? They do have the path. They still continue. They have a ramp up and they get to the ramp. They'll get all the way to 4 and they'll have a couple members still trying to sit around mid and maintain that map control. 45 seconds left, but that's going to be a tough one to beat.
I wasn't joking about how small and condensed this map is going to be. J Money with the clutchest double that they can have. Yes, it's a trade, but it opens the door a bit for PSU Blue to claim it on the defense. They get 3 members on their own. It's just a Rainmaker holder that is very much alive, and they are dropped. Now, it is in a position where it does favor Las Creaturas. They don't need to panic right away. The Super doesn't find anybody quite yet. This Rainmaker's on the right-hand side of the map here in Humpback Pump Track. Rainmaker there, but for PSU Blue, you don't need to overinvest. You have to stay alive as long as you can if you want to take this one home. Lux and Las Creaturas is still the ones that are holding firm. This triple splashdown is going to push them back by a bit. We go into overtime here. Vapor is dropped. Thunder is going to get traded with their lives. It's going to slow it down by just a few minutes. 2 members have dropped. Now it's just the wheel being used. It is spawning on a few members. The wheel has chased the Rainmaker, and that is all it is. Las Creaturas' undefeated streak comes to an end. They drop the first map of the weekend. PSU Blue ties the set 1-1, and now things have gotten a lot more interesting.
Anything can happen, especially on Rainmaker Humpback Pump Track, as PSU Blue finishes the way that they start with a fantastic opening that you could say instilled some confidence, and then we're going to get a look at it here. By this point, the Splat Dualies had already gone down. They're coming back from spawn, but they lose their Tri-Slosher and the Splatana Wiper. So this allows Vapor, as the Snipe Rider also goes down. It's just Thunder there, and they're engaged, it looks like, in a battle with Snow. V is also there on the right-hand side, so they get taken out. So an immediate pop on that Rainmaker, resulting in a pick and then getting to that first checkpoint, never having to worry about it again. That's critical in them getting to 4 later. There's Havoc going forward. They have a slight path. Both teams, you could tell, favored the area just under that spawn because it's so difficult to see down there. You basically have to be looking over like you're staring down at the top of a mountain. And now this is where it goes critical for PSU Blue. V helping them get a path forward. You see Jay all the way forward. Fox has no idea, gets the trade with Havoc. In fact, their parting shot, they were already deceased by the time Fox gets splatted. The Ultra Stamp critically misses, and the path that was painted again on that far right-hand side, plus the splash wall absorbing damage, gets them up to 4. So a beautiful job on multiple pushes for PSU Blue to tie this game at 1 and put Las Creaturas Kyon in a position of counterpicking that they have not been in all today.
You know the most common counterpick you could probably have in any situation, Zach? You pretty much will know the answer to this one. It's Inkblot TC, by the way, for game number. Yeah, that's the counterpick that we are seeing. And this just gets really interesting for Las Creaturas here coming into this. And now here's where the dynamic of this game was. By the way, J Money, the clutches double. Without that double, this game changes on a dime. That pencil and the tri-slosher gone was huge. But also, never sleep on Las Creaturas, obviously. Lux and Fox doing their work as the main two to try to keep the game alive as much as they could, but just wasn't enough. And now you go into this Inkblot TC map. I believe, yes, this was played not yesterday. The previous set, excuse me, pretty much the same word, where PSU Blue got that dub over USF Gold, and pretty much the exact same style of focusing on the right targets. And Snow had the amazing game that they had against USF Gold. So for PSU Blue, they rolled that momentum. They realized they can compete with Las Creaturas. They just gotta see if they can compete in Inkblot TC being the counterpick here from Las Creaturas.
It almost feels like yesterday, that last match, because of how emphatic it was for PSU Blue and how exciting it is to now see PSU Blue competing with Las Creaturas again. Not surprised to see what you could call a meta stage and mode combination if you deign to see that. They're very common to see these two paired together, and it's for a reason, right? You have very defined areas. You have that low ground. You have the two sort of low court areas on the left and right that do get their fair share of views if players are scrambling around or if they have superior maneuverability, but it is all going to hinge around once you get to that middle court area where the art installment is. That is where the magic happens and the true pushes are made leading up to that final ramp. Let's see for game 3 if any adjustments are made. Seeing Havoc, of course, there on that vanilla slosher, and on the opposite side of things, Snow, who's been very, very good on that 52. Vapor still on the custom expo. They're going to have to position themselves quite well, as this is not a huge map queue, and at least for all of the areas that will be used commonly.
Yeah, definitely. Even it's very deceptively large map, but a good chunk of it will probably be focused on the same paths that they always can. Right out of the gate, by the way, the change from Havoc goes to the vanilla slosher. PSU Blue pays no mind to that. That's already 3 members that have dropped near instantly, and now it's just Fox that goes down. That is pretty much the best start for PSU Blue that they have, and Snow continues their crazy run in Inkblot TC as they get the double, and J Money's on the right place at the right time. The first checkpoint's already being cleared, and now they're approaching the second checkpoint. Now Las Creaturas on the back foot for this particular push. It's gonna Thunder looking to see if they can find a few members. The answer is gonna be yes, but at least on a trade situation, 2 members have gone down. V is likely gonna have to escape with their lives. What a powerful start though for PSU Blue, at least getting past the first checkpoint. Sure, you don't clear the second, but you gotta at least instills even more confidence for this group.
You'll have to excuse my unfamiliarity with Penn State as an institution, but if they're looking for a motto, maybe finish the way you start is a good one to go with, because if PSU Blue finishes this one the way they started, it's going to be another W. They get to 49 off the back of Snow, who again has been so pivotal with this 52, as has the Ink Brush, but now they're on the defense, looking for a way to stop this tower as it stays in mid, looking for a way to find over there on that Viper as Thunder gets exactly the optimal position that you would expect of a crab tank on this map. These side boxes only getting pot shots onto players like Snow, not unfortunately finishing any of them off, but they will finally move this tower. That's an early pick though, and the Ultra Stamp coming out. They are going to lose some reinforcements here, but it is a 2v1, and the only specials on the board belonging to the anchors is that tower Kyon will reset back to mid.
Yeah, tower slowly resetting back to mid, and for Las Creaturas, things are a little slow. But if anything, here with the second checkpoint not quite being cleared, if they getting their bearings back together as a group is starting to matter. This is also a case where you can probably pretty much know what PSU Blue is trying to do. They're trying to focus out the most experienced member on the team being Thunder. So now Havoc, Lux, and Fox will definitely need to step up big time to avoid getting completely cornered by what PSU Blue is dishing out to them. Because right now, I believe this is almost the second triple that PSU Blue has dished out on the board. Now the crab tank from Thunder is being cornered, has to just escape into effectively no man's land here. One member is deep on the other side, and so are the three. The question is, the map orientation can be crazy to say the least, but Thunder staying alive. They focus out B. This tower stays in the midst of all the chaos that happens across the map. Lost Creaturas is still looking to get past the first checkpoint.
And maybe that's the decision making you get from an experienced player using that crab tank, which we know they're so good on offensively. Defensively this time instead, they escape with their lives and they take out the Trizuka as well as surviving the onslaught that Vapor was trying to provide. And now they get the chance to use it offensively. They get that pot shot on the snow, and that takes out a very valuable member of PSU Blue's core. Now, moving forward here is Havoc, having the triple ink strike. They are going to use one late and gets a pick. That's a second with the triple ink strike in Kyon. That is a recipe for success as that first checkpoint is gone through.
Yeah, that's the big thing for Lost Creatures, getting past the first checkpoint. Then you can set yourself up for success. And this time it's Havoc that comes out huge with the double there. One from the trip strike, if I'm not mistaken, on top of it. And now members slowly leaking here. 49-49. All it needs to be is one member that touches the tower, and they don't quite get it, but that's okay for Lost Creatures as Lux is right there. The triple splash doesn't get Fox. Unbelievably, it doesn't even land on anywhere near the Fox. That is the lead change, a delayed wipe situation, and now Lost Creatures turns his momentum on its head here, approaching the third checkpoint. And with Lux still lurking large, it is still the amount of pressure. There is still a crazy amount of pressure that Lost Creatures is dishing out right now. 15 points remaining with about a minute left to go on this clock, and the three frontliners are getting absolutely cornered here. Havoc is still trying to look for picks. All the members have dropped. It is just two members very much alive. The wipeout is there. That is gonna do it. Lost Creatures, the slow start. They're at the slow start, excuse me, at the beginning of this map, and they find themselves on a great rebound. They're up 2-1, one more, and they're grand finals bound.
And that is the risk you take if you put all of your eggs into the basket of preventing them from taking the lead. Tie goes to the runner is the expression, and that is what happened there. Is the 49-49 would have worked out to 49-50 in favor of PSU Blue. They wanted to protect that as much as they could, but they do not win that fight. They lose 3 members as a result, and they give Lost Creaturas all the space in the world from that point on, making it so difficult for PSU Blue to get out of their spawn at that point. And they did lock it down a little bit at the end, but it was just too late. There is Snow getting that such important play, but Thunder is inevitable on the opposite side of things. They would come into effect later on. You can see Lost Creaturas opting to take some space here on the high ground and not throwing this ultra stamp. Gets the pick there onto Snow. That is one of the most pivotal players that you can target. And there, as you called out, is the triple splashdown from Vapor that does not get Fox. That is another turning point. That little pole in the middle of the tower doing some big work for a special that has quite a bit of range considering the two outer circles. And there is the 49-49 that was so difficult for PSU Blue to stomach. They're going to have to swallow that one and move forward to their counter pick for game number 4.
I don't remember the tower being a 5th player on a team. If that was the case in this situation, that was certainly one for Lost Creatures there as well. And that was crazy because I think if I wasn't mistaken, it was Fox hugging around the pole, not going underneath the tower. If I wasn't mistaken from the vantage. I would have to get maybe a third look at that replay there. I was kind of stunned as much as anybody was with that triple splashdown not landing, and that, as you mentioned, turned out to be the big change coming into that game there. If that lands, totally different ball game there. But PSU Blue, there's a lot of interesting ways that this can be approached. Again, the team that just got one map win, they're gonna have to do the exact same thing here in this game 4, being the counter pick of choice, which we're looking to see what that counter pick is going to be. It's another tower control map. It's actually very similar to the previous game. Undertow Spillway tower control being the counter pick of choice. So almost very similar to what we've seen in the previous game here, but this time a totally different opponent.
They play a very different game here in CCA with these undertow spillway tower controls. An old head like me is not used to this level here. And shout out, by the way, to our spec cam operator, Neptune, for both catching that great angle of the triple splashdown, as well as at the very end, that sort of Hail Mary splat bomb that was able to get two, including the member of Las Creaturas that was squid bagging to celebrate their victory there on the tower. Did not end up mattering, but a great double at the end of things. If they had a little bit more time, maybe had the opportunity to contest there. But we will see now this tower control undertow spillway. The way it worked out the first time we saw it, very emphatic, very quick. So for a PSU blue team that is on their back foot here, is trying to make sure that they can take this one to a game 5, is really going to need to lock in and make use of the space. It's very uneven space. It's got that split right down the middle of that elevated space. The Vapor, we know, on the custom expo likes to stay within that very thin space, that area that controls the middle part. Instead of, we didn't really get to see them because the tower is a moving objective on any of the traditional sort of sniper or anchor perches. And we've seen that play today from even Snipe Rider players. We've seen that they like to play sort of on the low ground instead and like to be, of course, behind the action. And we'll see if Fox ends up doing that as they stay on the Snipe Rider on the opposite side of things. The same composition as far as I see it from PSU Blue. So Kyon, they're liking what they're seeing. They'll just need a different result here as we get into game 4.
The main focus that I think VCU or Lost Creature has picked up is you could see PSU Blue pretty much investing so much onto the dualies, Thunder, if you will, there, and sometimes this is going to open the door for Havoc, that which we saw from the previous game, do the work that they need to get that lead change at hand. We do get to see just a bit of a rough start, at least for Lux coming in with the wiper, which is opening the door a little bit for PSU Blue. Again, both teams just kind of just trading blow for blow right now. The tower not really making too many changes so far, but even with 2 members down from PSU Blue, and if anything, the first checkpoint not quite cleared. Both teams kind of getting a good feel for each other at this point here, Zach. But a couple members slowly leaking a bit from PSU Blue's end. Maybe Lost Creatures might be able to capitalize.
And of course, as I mentioned, not using those sniper perches at all. We see 2 members at the end of that up there as Las Creaturas starting to move forward here with their push of the day. It's going to be V's Trizuka versus Thunder's Crab Tank, and lots of chip damage, but no splat for either player as they have to recognize each other's skill with the special. Thunder picking up that tactical before running back, so it looks like they will reset. Lux didn't get the memo as they were able to take down Snow. 2 members there, Vapor and V, will be finally enough to take them out way in that top left corner here. Some skirmishes starting to break out as Thunder looking for their next opponent here. And again, the first pick is going to go against PSU Blue, but Thunder, that's a big threat taken out. Snow hanging around just a little bit in the area where that triple ink strike is going to come out, and they will have the counter special with that killer well 5.1. So I think Kyon, PSU Blue putting up a pretty decent and stalwart defense and getting the picks that they need to survive.
Yeah, they're still very much surviving right now, getting crucial doubles. This is the late 3 set up here, but still going to go down as they peek out a little too much right now, trying to make something happen. But right now, not a firm lead in the slice in terms of tower control distance so far. And PSU Blue, they break through the first checkpoint, so both teams on the same checkpoint clearance so far. Maybe an Ultrasan might change the tides here. Triple Slashdown is going to be there for control. Lux is just starting it, trying to see if they can catch Snow. The answer is yes, and that will be Thunder going down at the end of it, but he did eliminate Snow and V in the process. It's just Vapor and J Money there. Big J Money and Vapor both go down to delayed wipeout situation, and Zach, now things can open up here for Las Creaturas.
Always tough having to shoot from the lower elevation, but Lux put on a masterclass there as we see Havoc getting a pick with that triple ink strike. Even knowing where Jay is set up, J Money is over there in the backside. A counter splat bomb as they recognize each other having the same sub weapon there. Now the killer well going to come out. It's going to target the members that are on the tower. Havoc taking a lot of damage and eventually going down to it. And here's J Money once again. They wanted to get that pick again where they're set up, but it's going to be Las Creaturas in the teens here, almost in the single digits. The killer whale is not going to be enough to contest. Havoc going to come in as reinforcements, and Thunder there too, and that will finish it off. A good fight put up by PSU Blue, but it is not going to be enough. Another knockout on this stage and mode combination will send Las Creaturas of VCU to the grand finals.
Excellent work from Lost Creaturas. Almost everybody pretty much stepped up to the plate when they needed to. Fox being the ultimate stabilizer on the pencil. Thunder, of course, being as illustrious they are, they knew when to use that crab tank at the optimal position there. Havoc, that crucial slosher double in the previous game, pretty much enabled their team to do their part. I know Lux had a pretty rough series, getting completely targeted there by PSU, but was able to hold firm. A huge pick also onto Vapor, I believe, on the right hand side there, pretty much allowed this push the balloon. It's a team, the sum of its parts really stepping up when it matters most. I know for PSU Blue, very disappointing end. They were so close in Inkblot TC. The tower being the 5th member at the end pretty much mattered the most there, Zach, and this one just kind of went off the rails after the few picks kind of came in. But PSU Blue, they will have to wait their opponent on loser semis, which by the way is going to be USF Gold versus Daybreak, two teams we have actually seen already today. So Zach, we are getting a clear picture of how this top 4 is going to be set up here, but we're not going to be the ones to finish it off here, Zach.
Unfortunately not. We do have some great casters coming in, though. Look forward to it. I believe Sapph and Falco are going to help to finish out what has been an exciting day of day 2 here in Division 1 for the CCA Finals. And congratulations to the teams that are still in it. Of course, PSU Blue, I'm sure, hungry for revenge against Las Creaturas. They did leave their mark, being the only team to take a game off of them. And it's been so exciting getting to see more CCA action. Kyon, it's always a pleasure getting to cast with you. We got to see some fun stage and mode combinations, some great plays, even some delayed triples and quads there. And couldn't imagine, doing it with anybody else. Shout out as well to Neptune for the great production and spec cam work, and it's been so fun. You'll have to please stick around for more action here, Kyon. Excited to hear final thoughts from you as well.
No, that's pretty much all. That's pretty much all I got here. I mean, it's as always, especially going back to the CCA League. I believe the past spring is always great to work with you, Zach. And hey, hopefully we get to work with each other again sometime down the road. That's the big thing for both of us. But hey, we got more CCA Circuit finals action. As you noted, Sapph and Falco will take you home the rest of the way for Division 1 top 4 losers semifinals matchup between USF Gold and Daybreak will be coming up right after the break. You do not want to miss a thing. Stick around.
When I look in your eyes, I see the stars shooting from the sky as if thrown from Mars. Hold me tight, please don't let me down, 'cause we'll start falling, falling, falling towards the ground. 'Cause we'll start falling, falling, falling. 'Cause we'll start falling, falling, falling. 'Cause we'll start falling. Yeah, we said we let it go, to let you down? No. Who am I to let you down, down, down? If you let me walk away, maybe then we'd lose it all. No. Who am I to let you
Hey everybody, welcome back. The CCA Circuit Season 2 Division 1 Finals is here today. I'm with Falco. This is like, I'm so excited to see you.
I'm excited to see you too. Hi.
I feel like this is just going to turn into you and me having a conversation this afternoon.
It's going to be a good conversation about collegiate Splatoon. We're already repping our gear. I'm repping my Dayton Flyers gear. They played in the Division 4 Top Cut today, unfortunately got knocked out. Sapph, you've got the Washington State University sweater going on. Were they playing in CCA this year, do you know?
I actually have no idea. I hope they were, and if they were, wish you were here.
Yeah. Hey, we have 4 teams remaining in our top cut of Division 1. USF Gold versus Daybreak is going to be coming up next. But PSU Blue and Las Creaturas, who you just saw on stream, 2 dominant teams going head-to-head, are waiting later on. But take a look at these 2 teams, USF Gold and Daybreak. Daybreak has been making quite a run here, and they qualified through the last chance qualifier. They didn't get it through the Split 1 or Split 2. They participated in both of them, but finally sealed the deal, got that spot during the last chance qualifier. USF Gold, a very strong team from the University of South Florida, qualified through Split 1 and took a game off of PSU Blue at Riptide. So we always love to see these collegiate teams play at all of our major lands in person as well. There's always a great turnout, especially at Riptide, and these 2 are going to go head-to-head in the losers semis starting right now, Sapph.
Ooh, I'm rubbing my hands together like a fly. Like I've just landed and I found something really good because I'm so excited to watch these 2 duke it out just because of the day that they've been having. Love it, the Silver Arrow Spray. You know what? Why not? And paired really well with a Dreadringer, I guess. News to me.
Yeah, and we have the double Reef Slider here coming from Daybreak, something that is not unexpected on Splat Zone's Robo Ramen. A lot of players like to Reef Slide just to try and cap the zone with one slide. And you can happen at the same time, both of them can fall off into the side there. But regardless, Daybreak is the one who's able to take the lead first. Haya is going to take down 2 members. 3 are going to go down on Daybreak. So only to 83, Daybreak held it. That's going to be a delayed wipe for USF Gold. Now they are in control. Few, they're specials online as well.
Yeah, specials indeed, because that's Ty getting at least one with that Trizuka, but quickly going to be taken down, but still plenty of space for Haya to try and make a difference here. Still a penalty going on the side of Daybreak. All members actually, except for the Reef Slider, still stuck in the spawning area. Icebreaker makes it out, Breakdown makes it out too, and the control flips to Daybreak's favor.
Yeah, I think that's going to be something we're going to see quite often from Daybreak. Again, 2 Reef Sliders. You use one, wait for it to detonate, then you use the other to try and catch the players off guard. And Daybreak able to get 2 out of that. Now they're into position to try and take the lead. Windbreak going to be avoiding that Booyah Bomb coming out from Haya with the Stamper. Lead is going to be swapping over now. 2 are going to be down on Daybreak. USF Gold quick to turn it around, and it's once again in their control, but quite a few penalty points on the side of Daybreak.
I will say I got a little concerned with that Tri-Strike smoke screen that was going on. I was afraid that Ty wasn't going to get enough space to push up with their Carbon Roller, but it turned out in USF Gold's favor. And look at Ty trying to push up here, almost finding a little more value, but not quite much more. And Breaking Bad is going to take at least Fizzle out. They're going to move into the zone here. Triple splashdown, but not enough to cover it, Falco. Okay, just a little bit of follow-up there, and we have Daybreak back in the driver's seat.
You know, it's not very often that a Blaster player could solo cap a zone like that, of course using the triple splashdown to help out, but they utilize all of the paint they needed to try and wiggle their way in there, and that was a very good save from Daybreak to avoid USF Gold from stretching those points even farther. Haya now going to be throwing the Booyah Bomb to try and displace some of the members, but going to be going down to Breaking Bad on the side of Daybreak, but USF Gold, they are so quick to just regain control, get pick after pick. 3 members of Daybreak are going down. USF Gold going to try and get back to the position that they were just a minute ago and try and get rid of some of these penalty points to extend their lead.
Yeah, and especially with having all 4 members of Daybreak back in the spawning area at this point, a very good tracking device. 3 different members being spotted here on the side of USF Gold, but still, that's 2 going down on Daybreak, so and make it 3 actually. Not much help there for the tracking system, and Haya is still going to be able to climb up these walls and get up in the front here. And I mean, you can do that so well with Stamper, and especially someone like Haya who's been using the Stamper for quite a long time, and hopefully Breakdown can have some follow-up with Icebreaker here, but it seems to me that USF Gold is keen to the reindeer games of Daybreak.
Right. What I love what Haya did right here was they didn't use their Booyah Bomb as an offensive tool. They very well could have. They waited for the momentum from Daybreak to push forward, used it, threw it right at the pillow. That helped cap the zone. It didn't give Daybreak any opportunity, and USF Gold wins game 1 with all the momentum from their team. Excellently played there from all 4 members, especially Haya at the very end. Well-deserved fist bump against Fizzle here. Let's take a moment and look at some of these replays. This is going to be Haya's point of view, just waiting with that Booyah Bomb, just sharking and making sure that they're going to see both of these resliders come out. There's one. Icebreaker was all alone, but here comes a second one where Breakdown was able to take down 2 members and extend their lead a little bit. So unfortunately for Daybreak, that double Reef Slider move didn't quite get them the win of the game, but it made some great moves.
Yeah, and I like that there was a continuation of it in the secondary clip here, but once USF Gold was really keen on what the strategy was, they were able to lock it down right away. And I mean, look at the control here from taking down those 2 Reef Sliders and not really letting it impact you as much. Giving Haya the space to just stand there and wait for that final jump to come in. I mean, that's in the flesh, seeing live just call and response to something, because they immediately adjusted to that as the second time came, and especially during a little bit more risk because they had less time to try to hold on to everything. So
yeah,
well played.
It's always hard when the time is ticking down. You know you don't have a lot of time to work with, whether it's the time on the clock or the penalty points dwindling down to. But yeah, for USF Gold, it really worked out in their favor to just kind of be patient. We're not going to overextend. We're not going to push forward too much. We're going to use our specials as a defensive mechanic because we don't want to overextend ourselves. We all know how what can happen if you try and push up too far. You go 3 down, then all of a sudden Daybreak is going to be taking the zone. You have a lot of penalty points, but you have to fight your way back in. So props to you for, again, being patient on that side. We're going to be going into Game 2 here. It's going to be a counter pick of Splat Zone's Mahi Mahi Resort. So Daybreak opting to stick with the same mode, different stage, of course. And for Mahi, lots of opportunities to fall down. I don't think we're going to see the double Reef Slider come out. If I'm using Reef Slider on this stage, I'm definitely falling into the water. Now, I'm not a Division 1 caliber player at CCA, but I would imagine we're going to see a little bit of comp change here from potentially both teams.
Yeah, I would imagine Daybreak would try to do something a little different, and perhaps the Splat Zones Robo game was the warm-up for this particular map for Splat Zones. I mean, you never know. And not really much of a change coming out from USF Gold, so we're going to stick with the same thing. Windbreak, though, I believe Windbreak was not playing Ballpoint last time.
They did have an Inkjet, I believe, but they are sticking with the double Reef Slider, so I was wrong. I guess there's not as much open space here as any of the other modes that we typically see, but regardless, still lots of opportunities if you're not careful to fall down into the water. And Daybreak taking an early cap there, Breaking Bad with a nice direct, avoiding some of the splats from that bubble. Can they take down Haya? Yes, they can. So still pushing forward. Breaking Bad really trying to tear it up. Now finally going to be going down, letting Thai TV give a little bit of space here to try and break in, and we definitely have a skirmish here mid.
Yeah, Thai TV taking down at least one. The Inkjet is going to be able to call that out, though, and Thai is going to go down. But still, plenty of space for Haya and Fizzle to work with, so USF Gold can flip zone back in their favor here. You can see Icebreak is trying to maybe do something up on this right-hand side. Multiple people being tracked. Here comes the Reef Slider. Not finding too much value, though. See, I don't disagree that Reef Slider seems a little risky here, but also you have to be really precise with where you landed at, because you can't really be that much outside of the zone to find too much coverage value. But I don't know, maybe that wasn't the point, but it looked like maybe. You know, yeah. It's like hard to calculate.
This stage is a little bigger than what I remember playing, so I'll give them their credit for that. Yeah. But regardless, I think like in a situation now for Daybreak, when you have this momentum going for you, you don't have the lead quite yet, but you're finally, this is like your real first offensive push. And again, they're not overextending by any means. They're not even trying to go on any of the plats on USF Gold's side, so they're just kind of like waiting for members to drop down, and that's perfect if you're Breaking Bad and you're playing a blaster. Of course, you don't want to get directed by that Trizuka, but you still have quite some leverage that you can use to your advantage, and that's possibly why they chose this particular stage.
Yeah, but still, it seems to me that even with the folks using Reef Sliders, they get called out like Icebreaker did just there. And that, look at Fizzle just moving, using all the space that they can, getting some of the cooler to go down. But Breaking Bad still pushing the boundaries here. Unfortunately, not going to land anything on Fizzle. And Haya has to try to shut this down now, but also needs to Booyah Bomb the zone. There's a lot of different variables here making USF Gold kind of quake.
Yeah, and I think USF Gold, they're very close to the lead, but a lot of the penalty points they haven't been holding on to the zone for very long, so they can dwindle some of their penalty points, but they're just kind of frozen in time, and there's really not been a lot of control of the zone regardless, and it just goes to show for these two teams just how well-suited they are to face each other. And I think for USF Gold, trying to navigate that double Reef Slider is always going to become more tricky. And some of these specials that these players have are going to be panic specials if a Reef Slider is coming. I could see like the Booyah, for instance, you know, you're hoping that you can go for Booyah and right before the Reef Slider is going to land on you. But, I mean, regardless, again, Daybreak is still trying to turn this around, and it's looking more and more in their favor, even with a player disadvantage. They look more comfortable than they did during Game 1.
Yeah, and I think the bubble here is going to, really change the tone. That's Inker using the junior with the bubble. Haya is going to try to take something here on the right-hand side. And most of the players looking on this right-hand side, too. That's Windbreak coming out on the Inkjet. Haya is going to land a little bit of damage there. And look at Windbreak doesn't really move forward with that. And especially with having Breaking Bad at the bottom and Icebreaker there to follow up. I don't know. It seems very hesitant to me, Falco. But that's going to put USF Gold ahead of the game here with just a little bit of a minute and change left.
Yeah, and a lot of that credit can be towards Haya. They got rid of one of the players right before they used the Reef Slider and then took out another one just seconds later. So that is what helped them extend their lead to get all the way down to 11. Less than a minute remaining now, 46 penalty points for USF Gold. 2 are going to be down on Daybreak. So again, using these point sensors is going to be really key if you're Daybreak to try and identify where some of these USF Gold players are. You don't want to get caught off guard or have your recoil spot be right where the Booyah is going to be thrown. But here's an opportunity for Daybreak 2v2. They need to hold on to the zone.
Right, and here comes Breaking Bad trying to do something on the left here. That's Ty trying to see if they can pick a fight, and this happened last time in this game too. Ty feels threatened enough by Breaking Bad that they have to use full shots to try to keep them away and out of their bubble, but it's not going to be quite enough. That is going to be Daybreak taking the zone back with just a few seconds left to go. The penalty's not going to stand in their way for too long, Falco. It's going to be open season here. The points are ticking down and only a little bit more remaining. The Booyah Bomb still is not going to be able to paint as much because all members of Daybreak are now up in the center stage. But what is Ty going to be able to do with the Zipcaster or the Trizooka? And it's not going to quite matter. That's Daybreak putting us at a tied set.
What was really nice for Daybreak in those final moments is all the 3 players they had alive were in the zone, but they were scattered in the zone. Whereas if USF Gold only had one position that they were arriving from, they were all bunched up. And of course, at that moment, just specials are going to be unleashed. You have Inkjet versus Booyah versus Reef Slider. You have all the specials that are pretty much available, and Trizooka. But you're right, it was Ty who is going to be the one who is trying to break in at the end to figure out what they could do. But the setup for Daybreak at the end, I think, was just so important. A lot of the players, I'm sure, did a fantastic job calling out, like, we need to watch all sides. We need to call out specials as they come out, as they're deployed. We can't bunch up. We don't want to be going down. We don't want to have 2 of our members go down to a Trizooka. We need to spread ourselves out a little bit here, and we just don't want to get wiped. We don't want to have a player disadvantage. And that wipeout with that 16 seconds remaining, absolutely key to set them up for overtime.
Exactly. And I think Daybreak 2 has a really good way of stacking their specials to where one special comes and stacking in the way that they're moving forward, like not so much that they're throwing things on the zone, if that makes sense. Like somebody will I keep saying Zipcaster. Maybe I'm manifesting something here, but they want to Reef Slide all the way into zone, but then you have Windbreak immediately following up with Inkjet. Like they kept taking space like laterally instead of kind of capturing an entire area at one time, if that makes sense. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm explaining it correctly.
I understand, and like thankfully for splat zones, there is a lot of that space where you can kind of stagger those specials, and because you don't want to like double book your specials on a specific player. You want to spread them out. I totally understand. The counter pick from USF Gold is going to be Tower Control Inkbot Art Academy. This is going to be a mode that is going to be breaking up that double Reef Slider comp, unless I'm just wrong, and I could be wrong about everything.
You were wrong last time.
I was wrong last time. That's why I'm saying that with the little asterisk at the end.
Not to just point that out, but you were incorrect last time, so it could happen again. It's not impossible. It's not impossible.
But you don't have the same power as you do for Reef Slider on splat zones than you do for Tower Control. So I think this will be a moment where Daybreak really does change it up. USF Gold, I feel like the weapons that the players are playing is kind of their bread and butter comp. Of course, with a little bit of a diversity, maybe changing a kit or so, depending on the specific mode, maybe the stage as well. But we'll hop into it here. Taking a look at the comps coming out this time, we're going to be seeing a lot of the same weapons. Tri-Strikes coming out from USF Gold, and we are going to be only seeing one Reef Slider. Icebreaker is going to be sticking with the Reef Slider. It's going to be Daybreak who's going to go to the Vanilla Slosh with Tri-Strike, so a good change for both teams.
Yeah, the additional Tri-Strikes will help especially if you're in the lead. It's a good situation to be in, but USF Gold has kind of the same idea going with initial specials coming out here. Icebreaker's going to try to open it up on the left, but 3 members of USF Gold are already there and waiting. The tower's still just kind of in a neutral spot as we enter the first 30 seconds of the game, but still a very vampant and quick round of specials, Falco.
Yeah, I think these players are wasting no time to try and get that first upper edge on how they want to push the tower, and right now it's working out for Daybreak. There is a lot of orange paint here on this stage that USF Gold came out with, and they have a 2-player advantage, so that is why that push is going to be done for Daybreak. USF Gold trying to take advantage of that, identifying in a 1v1. Breaking Bad is going to take out Thai TV, and that one, Breaking Bad still has that triple splashdown ready, waiting for a member to drop down, but they can't drop down if you keep splatting them, Breaking Bad. You got no point in having that triple splashdown quite yet if you're just getting all these picks.
Right, and look at the Daybreak holding down on the tower on this left-hand side. The tri-strikes are going to come out and just barely not able to jump out of harm's way. The tower is going to be going back into the favor of mid here. The Booyah Bomb opening up huge area space for USF Gold to try to do something. Haya is so good at trying to lure people closer to them. I mean, you want to go and fight them, but then you know if you get too close, then it's going to be game over for you. But if you let Haya just run free, then you have to focus a lot of your resources there, and then the checkpoint is going to topple right in front of your eyes.
Yeah, Haya is doing a fantastic job making the members of Daybreak just scramble, try to identify where they are, and that's going to allow players like Inker and Thai TV to push up even further. Excuse me, again, looking at this map with how orange it is, that was all players in front of the tower. The tower has not reached this specific point yet, and they're just getting pick after pick after pick. It is just Windbreak who's alive. Haya's going to be going up here on bats to try and take them down, but they're going to be taken down by Thai. This is definitely a fantastic counter pick by USF Gold. Of course, it's not over quite yet, but they are getting some fantastic momentum to try and push this tower to the end.
And with only with 2 people down, though, you have Ty with that Trizuka at the top. Fizzle's trying to hold it down in the back, but once again, a bout between them and Breaking Bad ends a gigantic push by USF Gold here. But a lot of the members still have so much time to jump in here. That's Thai TV defending at least one jump, trying to push it forward, allowing Inker to try to come and help out as well. Still suspended at the 13 mark, and the wipeout has now occurred. So the jumping mechanic was working in the favor of USF Gold there, but immediately now the tides have changed. The tower is going to be pushed back in Daybreak's favor here. But I mean, Falco, this is a pretty far away place from the 70 points that you are at right now, but there are still 2 checkpoints left.
Right, like that 70 you had really doesn't mean anything. Yeah, you got past that first checkpoint, you got to 70, but you just don't have a lot of time now if you're Daybreak. Now, what they did was really smart. They pushed immediately to mid. They just said, you know what, we don't need to do anything with the tower. We just need to get some more paint in mid. We want to cover our bases in case we can try and extend this a little bit further. And right now, all they could do is really get back into a neutral game, and what's going to be tricky is what they're going to do in the next 30 to 40 seconds to try and set themselves up to figure out how they want to get this push started.
And here comes Windbreak trying to open that up, but Ty is going to shut it down immediately, barely getting a chance to scratch the 70-point marker to try to extend it a little bit more. Breaking Bad, though, it's a similar story where they're still going to be alive, even if 2 of their teammates end up going down, and Daybreak is still able to hold on to the tower, finally pushing their streak just a little further.
Yeah, it is looking really good with under a minute remaining. The tricky part now is this checkpoint here. They have to get past it, and they don't have a lot of time to work with. USF Gold positioning themselves very well on all sides against the tower, and they have a height advantage as well. Haya and Fizzle are still just working on this right side to make sure those rails are cleared. Icebreaker going to be going in with the Reef Slider, but now they're just going to be, 3 players are going to be pushed to them. Honestly, that allows Daybreak to go towards the tower. You don't net that many points, but you will take anything you possibly can get at this moment. And Breaking Bad, that was an almost perfect splashdown to land back on the tower in case none of their members were alive, but we will see what happens here. The Tri-Strikes coming out a little bit early, but guess what? There's another set from USF Gold, and that is not going to be enough for them to get on for Daybreak. USF Gold is going to win Game 3 with an early lead that stuck around and gave them the win.
Yeah, wow, the amount of times that Daybreak was able to topple what USF Gold was cooking with, I mean, it was an immense amount of times, but consistently, USF Gold could break through and put their players into key positions to push their way down to that 13 mark. So again, but still, so here's Icebreaker and Dealbreak on the tower. Windbreak is going to come up and try to see if they can open it up here. But this is what I mean. Ty is already thinking 2 steps ahead of them and coming in from behind. Not only did they try and like come in from the front, they've circled back, completely circled back, and was able to take out 2.
Right, and that's the thing about a carbon roller. If you see them, it's too late. You're already going to get splatted. So that, and Ty did that so well. Of course, that requires making more risky plays. You're hoping that the risk pays off too, and for a lot of the time, it did pay off for Ty. And you know, USF Gold able to get that win. And I think what was really important, obviously, with that very strong start, but remember with that push, how far a lot of the players from USF Gold were pushed up in front of the tower. All of the paint that was there. It wasn't until that final wipeout that happened with about 30 or 20 units remaining where USF Gold finally had to retreat. Daybreak was like, all right, we got to reset this. We only have 2 minutes to work with, but we need to figure out what we can do on offense to try and counter how well USF Gold has been playing. And those 2 minutes unfortunately didn't work. But Daybreak, they did push a little bit further than where they did. So now Daybreak is going to have another counter pick that they are going to be choosing. Can't choose splat zones because they last won on that mode. So we're going to be seeing. Oh, that was it actually. Oh yes, it's a losers bracket. I'm sorry, it's best of 3. So that is going to be it for that one.
I was like, wait a minute. Did we just, was it a glitch in the Matrix? What happened?
No, we're moving on. Yeah, I was stuck on the winners bracket with the best of 5, but no, my apologies. So yeah, USF Gold is going to be moving on to face PSU Blue, who we just saw previous face Las Creaturas. That went to a game 4 with Las Creaturas winning and is going to be waiting in grand final. So PSU Blue hoping to get this win. These 2 teams did face off earlier in the bracket in the semifinals. PSU Blue winning 3-0. So USF Gold, again,
a rematch.
They did get a game win off of PSU Blue at Riptide. I was not there to watch it in person. I think that was during the water park after hours, potentially. But I know PSU Blue really hoping that they can get that rematch that they want in grand finals.
Yeah, I am hoping for PSU Blue to get the rematch that they want. However, USF Gold has to get the rematch that they want first. And that's going to happen before anything else. So, losers finals here in Division 1. USF Gold has been on an incredible streak, not just today, but even just in their record, their history. They've played an entrance exam. They got second at Gatorland. I believe it's during the qualifier, the 2025 LCS qualifier. They got second in that tournament. They're trying to push themselves into the winner's seat of this tournament. And it's interesting the experience that USF Gold has from their online presence versus like going to these live events with different types of atmospheres that you have to play in. And I feel like PSU Blue more so is like a Riptide in person team. I could be totally wrong. I'm not sure if this team travels. Yeah, okay. You're nodding, so I'm assuming I'm right.
I passed all PSU Blue in the hall once. I was like, oh my gosh, it's PSU Blue. You guys are like one of the best CCA teams there.
Legends.
So it's always fun to see them. And this set is a best of 5, even though it's losers finals. It will be played out as a best of 5. So still kind of that a little bit more time if you're USF Gold. But again, you already lost to PSU Blue 3-0. Going into this set. So you're hoping for that redemption. You're hoping that you can try and pull something off. But PSU Blue, I know they want that rematch against Las Creaturas, but they're going to have to wait it out for one more. So we'll take a look at these comps here. As we did see it in USF Gold, a lot of weapons. I really like the Sea Blaster that came out from was that I forget which player had it already. Okay, thank you. Okay, yes, on the other team too. But again, a lot of these players don't even have their weapons listed. But the backline players in particular that we're going to be seeing, very, very strong. FS Snow is a fantastic player. And again, this PSU Blue team has been around for a while. Ryan is Vapor, who you all know from Triggerfish Zone Supremacy too.
And Booyah Bay.
and Bouillabaisse, so double dipping in the comp toes here. And a lot of these players have been playing Splatoon before joining their competitive Splatoon team. But of course, this is kind of like the natural progression of, oh yeah, we're gonna play together. We all attend the same university. So, starting with Barnacle and Dime here on game 1. Again, this will be a best of 5 with the counter picks. So, starting with zones is always a strong and easy pick, and it's always going to be kind of like the predetermined mode that they're going to be starting with anyways. So again, with USF Gold, I don't really think we're going to foresee many changes. We did see strikes come out for the first time from USF Gold in the tower control set, but I would doubt they're going to be coming out again. We might go back to some of the same weapons, the same comps that we saw in the 2 Splat Zones games earlier against Daybreak.
Okay. I'm hoping to see a little bit of different formula coming out from USF Gold for Splat Zones. I feel like Daybreak kind of made them maybe consider trying to like VOD review a couple of different like smaller plays, not so much the big picture, right? Because USF Gold was pretty dominant in that last set. But I think there were definitely some things that needed to be looked at a little bit closer. So I'm hoping that maybe trying to fight PSU Blue again, hopefully we can consider this some good momentum run to try and get a little bit of a streak of our own with a 3-0 for USF Gold.
Yeah, they're gonna try. It's gonna be, I would imagine, a very difficult battle that they're gonna have to face to try and make it happen. But PSU Blue, going into the CCA League, I think they were the 2nd seed overall. Regardless, it's not unexpected, obviously, that they're here in this position, obviously making it in the top cut, and they qualified through Split 1. So a lot of the teams that qualify through Split 1 kind of have that advantage. You know, it's also not, it's the number of tournaments you've played in, not necessarily like how well you do in one particular split or one particular tournament in that split. So, and they participated in both splits, but they can't qualify twice, and they qualified through the first one. But here we go, PSU Blue versus USF Gold, losers finals of Division 1. Snow is going to be going with the 52 gal to try and get those easy picks here with this 2-shot and use the wall towards their advantage. But V is going to be chased out very quickly. 2 are going to go down here for PSU Blue as USF Gold. Also, the colors are swapped from what the team names mean. That's just a me thing. So it's not aesthetically my favorite. I know our lovely streamer Neptune can't do anything about that, but I'm like, oh man, that's gonna throw me off.
Oh wait, what? What's opposite?
So the color, the ink colors and the team's blue and gold, like the names, like.
Oh.
Yeah. So I had to
I see.
I had to double check myself with that. Yeah.
Okay, I got you. I was like, it's like when you're like green, but the word green is like orange.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I was like, hold on. What are you even saying? Well, I know what I'm saying, and that's that PSU Blue is currently in the lead right now. I mean, holy smokes! Look at how far up we get to be pushed here. Snow having a wonderful wall. That is a great way to try to cut off access into the center stage here. Haya though is going to try to open something up, which by the way they have switched to decav, so they are on the inkjet now. A quick turnover to take a stop in getting Snow, make V a victim as well. But still, Falco, where is the ink for USF Gold here, especially with a man advantage? PSU Blue is still holding on strong, no penalty in sight.
It's hard because USF Gold, they don't have a lot of specials. It's happening again. They don't have a lot of specials that really generate ink. Like they have an inkjet, they have a bubble, so you don't have a lot of specials that are really going to help you gain some ground. And I think that's what's tricky, because when you're going up for an inkjet, you're not, you're just trying to target some players. You're not necessarily trying to paint the map. Because I noticed that's what Haya did. He got a fantastic double when he was up before, trying to do that again now, but some of these players slowly pushed out. But yeah, when that happens, it's going to be harder to try and take control of the zone. But USF Gold now has a little bit more time that they can work with. Again, getting rid of some of the penalty points. But yeah, when PSU Blue push it all the way down to 13, that really made USF Gold struggle just a little bit here. Haya going to be going down after taking that trade, but PSU Blue back in control in a 3v1.
Yeah, Haya is showing a lot more confidence in this round, I feel like, in comparison to their teammates, because, like, they ink-jetted in, but then the zone was painted under them, and then right there, they tried to push forward with that one pick that they got, but there was nobody able to cover him on the left-hand side. So USF Gold kind of has free range to move in here, but still, PSU Blue is going to be holding on to the zone so strongly. Again, okay, so try Zuka with the inkjet. We need to be pushing forward here and trying to see if we can take a fight on that back end of the zone, or else the penalty is still not going to go in favor of how you want it to, because even with just a brief takeover, PSU Blue is still so strong in the midsection.
Yeah, PSU Blue, they do a fantastic job. Once they are down, they get themselves back on their feet so quickly to try and take out members of USF Gold, and they've been doing that so well pretty much throughout this entire tournament now. Vapor and their team trying to just extend this push here, get back in control. Again, a lot of penalty points that they've been given, but still, they just do such a great job at getting it back right when they need to as well. I don't necessarily know if they're going to be knockout territory, but again, they're just holding really strong, slowly pushing forward here. Some of these specials finally building up. Haya going to be going down to V though against the Trizuka. Two are going to go down on USF Gold now, and it looks like they might be in a little bit more control. This might be an opportunity that they try and take, but they are running out of time.
Yeah, and Arctan can't really do much here, especially with Fizzle holding a very high position, giving Haya and Inker some space, but Inker's not going to be able to help out very much because they are unable to move forward here. Fizzle's going to try to pop the soda here for the members of USF Gold, and it's going to be super useful here as you take out Vapor out of the process. That's the long range for PSU Blue being taken down, but still, Falco, nobody's really taking advantage of that kind of space there, because with Vapor being gone, like, that's a huge reach advantage that PSU Blue doesn't have anymore.
Yeah, if you can take out the Explo member, then you just need to push forward and try and take out the other members. Haya now trying to get control of the zone, using that Inkjet exhaust to try and paint. It's going to help. They're going to be taking the zone here, but you can't afford to lose it right now. 5 seconds remaining. Some of their members are pushed up a little bit, but not in control of the zone. Finally, they get control. A 2-player advantage. This might be the best opportunity that USF Gold has had all game. V is the only one alive, pushed out. They're going to be jumping out, so this is going to be the best opportunity, like we mentioned, for USF Gold here. Their first lockout of this game. Arctan is going to be getting that Tacticooler out, going to be probably deploying it pretty soon. Not a lot of time if you're PSU Blue right now, but they are pushing through as a unit. One going to go down on USF Gold, one going down on PSU Blue. That bubble is there in the zone for USF Gold, losing control though, and it's finally taken over by PSU Blue. So a great effort for USF Gold, but it just came down to a timing issue. Potentially, if you had one more minute, you may get it, but that was your best push at that final moment. Unfortunately, there was not enough time.
But it just goes to show that, like, PSU Blue can't take this one easy. They can't take the slow lane in this matchup between them. Oh, but we could talk about Daybreak again, because this was a really cool play coming out from Daybreak, from what I understand. Oh, but the match that we're actually talking about has Haya involved with USF Gold versus PSU Blue. So I really appreciated the fact that PSU Blue was able to I just lost my train of thought, Falco. It's like I changed channels. I changed the channels.
You hit the last button. You went back to the previous channel.
yeah, I hit the last button. I went back.
Yeah.
What am I trying to say? You know what I'm trying to say.
Well, I was focused on Haya, and we've gotten a lot of great POVs from Haya too. And Haya is a player who's been around in the Splatoon community for forever. He's played with Popgun when Popgun was on Destiny Troop, so that's a sign that you've been around playing Splatoon. You've been around. He's been around the block.
I've been around.
Now playing for USF Gold. And again, obviously a very strong team, as we can see here. So again, but what you were saying, where this is going to be different for PSU Blue. It's not going to be a walk in the park. Again, 3-0 when they played before in the winter semis, but a lot of these games are going to be very, very close for these two teams, or at least we hope they are, and they deserve to be as well. And USF Gold, again, it was just unfortunate that they didn't have a lot of time to work with in the end of game one. It wasn't until the as overtime was approaching, that they could finally really make a lockout effort to try and stop PSU Blue, where they got the most of their points. They are going to be choosing their counter pick, which will be Splat Zones on Mahi Resort. So they are sticking with Splat Zones, hoping that this will be the mode that they can get their win. And I don't blame them with how close the first one was. I think PSU Blue they were always one step ahead for especially those first 3 minutes. And now that they have another game under their belt, USF Gold can try and learn from that.
Am I experiencing some deja vu, or did this happen in the last matchup where USF Gold lost the first Splat Zones match and then they counterpicked Splat Zones again, and it was on Mahi Resort? So, like, again, this is the warm-up. This is the warm-up, and then especially if it starts with Splat Zones, we have to go here next if we lose. You got to follow the flow chart. There's a flow chart to this.
The counter picks are just an illusion. They're not real. They're not real counter picks. Everyone has the same
calculated. Everyone's
got the same calculation for how they choose stages and modes. So, before, of course, we saw, it was Daybreak that had the double reef slider. Probably not going to be seeing it from either of these teams. But it just really depends. I think so. Haya has been playing the Booyah Bomb Stamper, or has been playing Inkjet with Mint Decapitator, or not Decapitator.
Yes, they did play that though.
Well, they did. Okay, I was thinking of the one with the bubble, but yeah, they didn't play that one. So it's going to be interesting to see what they choose here this time around, to how they can better support their team going into this game 2. But PSU Blue, again, a fairly dominant victory in game 1. We're going to be seeing a lot of shooters come out once again from the side of PSU Blue. It's going to be the Decavitator again coming out. This one with the bubble. So this one is the Mint Decavitator.
Yes.
But they have double bubble. Actually, USF Gold's going to be laying down 2 bubbles with the Junior and the Mint Decav.
Yeah, going really defensive, one might hope, with this round of Splat Zones here, but USF Gold's going to be throwing the first punch. 2 members of PSU Blue now being down. Arcan has the cooler ready to go, but there's not a lot of space for them to take as they get pushed back by the offense of USF Gold here. And also with the cooler in tow, this is going to be a really difficult hold for PSU Blue to break, but not unless you're Snow trying to take advantage of the high ground, taking out Haya, really big aggressor to be taken down from USF Gold, and it's going to open it up just a little bit for that tri-strike, or tri-splashdown. There's try everything, Falco. Try everything. For the tri-splashdown to come through and open it up, but still, USF Gold having way more painting power here in comparison to PSU Blue.
Yeah, which it doesn't really seem like that would be the case, especially with a zap and a shot, but it's just the Junior that's going to be laying down a lot of ink. Obviously, you have the FE edit as well, but this is a totally different game for USF Gold, getting all the way down to 22. Finally going to be capped by PSU Blue. 60 penalty points for USF Gold. So they're back in control. Vapor is going to be getting a nice double to help support that wipeout. This will be the first time PSU Blue is in control, as they are going to be pushing forward a lot of orange and yellow paint there on the stage right now. Haya is going to be trying to break in, but they're caught by PSU Snow, taken down by one of their teammates as well, coolered up. USF Gold now in a position to strike forward with a 2-player advantage. So they wasted no time to try and get back in the zone, only letting PSU Blue get down to 55.
Yeah, and I appreciate so much that Haya is doing a really fantastic job of not only following up with their teammates, but also, even as a Min Decav, putting down a little bit of ink to try to help out. You really want to make sure that Ty can get in prime positions. But with them being down, Haya's going to have to back up. The bubble here, the double bubble comp has been super helpful, not like mostly defensively, but also just making sure that no paint from PSU Blue is getting on the zone. So not only is it helping players stay alive, it's also preventing any sort of paint to be getting on the field.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, with having 2 bubbles that are going to be kind of utilizing that ability, that is going to be crucial. And it's really only going to be crucial if you have that very strong lead like USF Gold had. Because imagine if they were trying to come back, they wouldn't have a lot of the lethal specials that they would need to try and break back in. So they were very fortunate that they were the team that got that first lead. And now PSU Blue, as we approach the second half of this game, they're getting more and more comfortable, especially with the flanks here. Taking down Fizzle, it's going to be Snow who's going to be taking them out. Haya is going to be spotted. Bubble is out, and that is going to be a huge wipeout, followed by the cooler. A lot of paint already on the side of PSU Blue. I would not be surprised if they take the lead in this position. Snow setting themselves up in a very great killer whale position, especially with the ink wall to prevent the heavy edit from trying to paint down too. And USF Gold still trying to find ways that they can break back in. PSU Blue holding really strong.
Yeah, and especially holding strong if you're allowing Vapor to get that close and leaving mid a little bit. A good defensive maneuver to try splashdown, but also keep paint on the ground. PSU Blue is going to flip the lead in their favor here. A really big narrative change, unfortunately, for USF Gold, having to make up a lot of time here because that penalty stands in their way. As USF Gold, or if PSU Blue isn't going to stop from holding on to the zone, what is one to do? But finally, USF Gold is going to not only defend PSU Blue from getting their cooler, but they also are going to take zone into their favor and force the members to have to try to spread out.
Yeah, they're going to need to spread out if they want to try and break back in against this PSU Blue team. The Whale is going to be coming up to try and display some of the members. Vapor going to be going up for the splashdown to try and go in. But USF Gold still in control of the zone. They really need to hold on, do everything you can to hold on to the zone. 3 going to go down. It's just going to be Haya. They're going to go down as well. PSU Blue with a huge save, a lot of penalty points, but more importantly, you did not give up the lead in these last 45 seconds. Do everything you possibly can to paint this entire stage, and that is exactly what they're going to be trying to do for the next 30 seconds.
Yeah, and with 3 specials online for PSU Blue, the holding power that they have, I mean, they must have a really good hand. They're forcing USF Gold to fold here with only 20 seconds left remaining. There's not really any resources right now for USF Gold to utilize other than trying to get in close because, actually, as I say that, it's because they already used all of their resources. There's 2 bubbles and a Trizuka there helping to try to open things up and change it out. Now with the penalty trying to be ticked down here, Snow is going to be looking for picks rather than painting the zone. I'm not sure if that was really the advantageous choice though, Falco, because Snow immediately gets called out, but Vapor is going to allow for just a little bit more ink to get on the ground there, just inches away for USF Gold, but man, miles ahead is PSU Blue is in a 2-0 fashion.
Yeah, it was Vapor getting the initial paint to contest the zone, then Arctan cleaning up with the zap to try and just get everything they can to get the win. Huge win for PSU Blue. They were down for pretty much all of the beginning. This is how far USF Gold got in their opening push. In 1 minute, they pushed it all the way down to 30, and they pushed it down to 22 on this push here. So a really good comeback for PSU Blue. Of course, they were down, but they definitely weren't out, and they're not even the underdogs in this position. So very calm, cool, and collected here, especially from a player like Vapor getting a nice double. And as we approach the last minute and a half, this is where PSU Blue extended their lead to push down to 14, and USF Gold able to try and cap, to try and see what they could do to break in. 11. Haya coming in with that nice splat, chasing Vapor away. But that was a great win for Vapor and PSU Blue to get that win, go up 2-0. Just know you need one more game to get that rematch in Grand Finals.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that PSU Blue had a really strong presence for at least the first half of the game, and then really kind of had to take a step back as USF Gold was like just utilizing their resources in a better fashion for a while there, but then eventually coming back, fighting strong, putting it in a 2-point difference there with 11-13 and like penalty points in between, whatever, but like getting it down almost to the wire, and then but still PSU Blue having a dominant fashion and staying close. But Falco, it's not over yet. USF Gold is holding on to this horse because they want to go to Robo Ramen and have splat zones for dinner.
You know, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? You already had 2 servings of splat zones. Why not a third here? Have a side of ramen while you will. Well, for this one.
The ramen is the side in this scenario.
Ramen is, yeah, it's a side. It's a side dish. You know, I don't blame USF Gold for this, just based on how well you opened up in Game 2 and how well overall you performed in Game 2, but you just have to watch for the flanks. And know when you need to attack zone, know when you need to try and paint up, because I feel like there were some moments where USF Gold, they were very locked in into splatting some of the members of PSU Blue, especially at the very end, where they could have, it may have been better utilized to try and take over part of the zone and try and cap it to extend your lead. And we're going to see if that's going to be changing for Robo Ramen as we get ready for Game 3. But PSU Blue, again, just one game away from that rematch against Las Creaturas in Grand Finals that they're hoping to get. USF Gold looking to play spoilers and winning 3 in a row.
Yeah, but I feel like USF Gold, this is a very similar story to what we saw earlier in the bracket with PSU Blue fighting them like for the first time today. And I think it's really funny because it's like, okay, well then what happened in that first 3-0? It's probably pretty similar to what we're watching right now, where USF Gold gets a really, really solid opening and has like really good tricks up their sleeve, but then PSU Blue is just one step ahead. And yeah, USF Gold kind of has a mountain to climb here to try to reverse sweep PSU Blue, but PSU Blue is one step away from punching their ticket into Grand Finals. So I hope here with spot zones, I think, are we on Humpback Pump Track? Am I seeing that correctly? No.
No.
Oh, thank God. I was like,
No,
where are we?
So also, there have only been 2 game modes that these 2 teams have played against each other, because in winter semis, it went splat zones, tower control. So we're getting our 4th serving of splat zones, and nobody wants to dare go to Rainmaker or Clam Blitz for their set. So, you know, it just shows how USF Gold is really determined to get this splat zone win. And then splat zones will be all done if they get it, because a counter pick can't be that same mode. So we'll see if it works out. PSU Blue able to take the lead. USF Gold had a very light lead, 2 players down, so this is going to be a better position now. Trying to take out Haya. Snow is really trying their best, but Haya was doing a really good job of working with the wall. Tai is able to take out Snow with that Trizuka, and Haya now just kind of in the pit here, waiting to see how well they can break in, kind of maybe baiting for one of the players from PSU Blue to drop down. And the zone might be contested pretty soon, and it finally is. USF Gold back in control. 48 points went to the side of PSU Blue, and now it's going to be a little more comfortable for USF Gold.
PSU Blue still isn't out of here yet, because you have V and Snow trying to pincer in on this corner here, but Haya's still going to be very comfortably up close as well, and actually preventing V from wanting to move forward. It's like, it's so funny when you can kind of tell that, like, I don't think that fight is meant for me. But still, PSU Blue having so much more inking power to work with here, pushing it into their favor once again, and especially with Vapor being able to move up here, I'm wondering what this triple splashdown is going to be doing for PSU Blue.
Yeah, you definitely want to use it either on the offensive end where you can right now, or it needs to just be, you know, something that you use in the zone to try and counter, get a quick neutral. But right now they really haven't had to use it as much. Haya's going on a tear as very wisely drops down. You know, you miss the first strike, you don't take out that player, you're going to be dropping down and jumping out to one of your teammates. So excellently played as they're trying to find a way that they can break back in and take the lead. Vapor is going to take down Haya in this moment. 3v3 zone still in control of USF Gold, but 2 are going to go down. Now this is where PSU Blue is going to be trying to take control. Vapor with the Expo and that Trizuka able to take control of the zone. 33 penalty points for USF Gold.
Yeah, and PSU Blue is not stopping or slowing down just yet. All members of USF Gold are trapped in their spawning area, which leaves Snow the comfortability to just wait and see what's going to happen. My goodness. It's one thing to have like immense game sense. It's another thing to know that you're comfortable enough that USF Gold is not going to be taking a step towards you. But to PSU Blue now finally having 2 members going down with 2 minutes left to go, that opens the door for USF Gold to try to get some offense in there, but Inker is going to go down, and the 3 members are still stagnant with only single points left remaining here. The Trizuka is going to lock it out. That's a wipeout. PSU Blue 3-0 once again against USF Gold.
Yeah, that game was really rough for USF Gold. In the, 2 or 3 minutes at the end, they just didn't have any specials that they could count on to try and take back the zone. We saw PSU Blue members at the very end. They were just kind of waiting. They're like, they don't have specials that they can just like bombard us. We can wait for them to come to us. And that's how we saw Anchor 2 go down. They were the only ones who pushed forward. All attention went to Anchor, and the 3 members who were in the zone for PSU Blue were just like, yep, all right, we're gonna spot you, and then we're gonna wait for someone to try. Or it's a game of chicken at that point, where if it stays neutral, it's gonna be PSU Blue who walks away with it. So, very good and dominant win. Definitely PSU Blue's most dominant game that they've had in this set. And that leads us down to the final two teams, PSU Blue and Las Creaturas. Las Creaturas from VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University, are going to be facing off in Division I Grand Finals. Las Creaturas, arguably the #1 seed in all of CCA. I remember when I saw this roster, I was like, these are all college students who go to the same team? Are you kidding? Like Havoc and Thunder and and like Lux and Fox, like, are you serious? Like they all go to the same school.
You're just classmates, like asterisk classmates.
What if everyone in the Splatoon community went to the same school? Oh wait.
No. Oh wait, that's actually half true for some people.
Oh man. All right. Well, hey, this set is going to be coming up again, Grand Finals. We will take a quick break before we get started with this so we can get everybody back in the lobby. But you guys don't go anywhere. Have all of your CCA tabs open to pay attention to all the divisions. We will be right back with our Grand Finals here for Division 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our CCA Division 1 broadcast here on CCA. My name is Falco, joined with Sapph, and we are getting ready for our grand finals. Las Creaturas from Virginia Commonwealth University versus PSU Blue from the Pennsylvania State University. And Sapph, we mentioned these two teams. We saw a lot of PSU Blue play today. Las Creaturas, the #1 seed in CCA, going at it once again. These two teams did face off in the winners bracket, winners finals, where Las Creaturas won 3-1. PSU Blue got a set win against USF Gold to push their way back in here for the reset. I do want to talk a little bit about how yesterday went for how well these teams got here as well. To make day 2, you had to win 3 sets. Las Creaturas did that by going 3-0, easiest path in there. PSU Blue.
Easiest pie.
Exactly. PSU Blue, they did get a set loss against Reef Runners, so they ended up getting into this bracket by going 3-1. They won their first set, lost their next, and then won their next 2. So finally back at it again, and if you saw anything with the winners finals when Kyon and Zach were commentating, this was definitely a fun set to watch. I'm very much looking forward to the rematch.
Me too. I'm looking forward to the rematch, and it's much deserved after the rematch that PSU Blue was able to be dominant today in a 6-0 fashion against USF Gold. But Falco, our Splat Zones platter is not done yet. We still have our side of Urchin Underpass over at the edge of the plate here, entering into grand finals, and it's still a best of 5. So I hope you have room in your stomach for just a little bit more Splat Zones.
You know, I think everybody does. I don't know of any person or player, especially the players, they seem to always enjoy Splat Zones, but more of just like, oh, that's Splat Zones. Wow. Of course, we like variety, but if you're going to choose one mode to kind of focus on, it's going to be this one. Now, Urchin Underpass, a stage we don't see very often, a very small zone too. We're going to be seeing the comp from Las Creaturas come out and see what kind of jumps out to us. A kind of a standard comp. It's going to be the gal with the tacticooler. That's going to be kind of the pick that we don't see very often, but PSU Blue sticking with a lot of the weapons they typically choose.
Yeah, and I appreciate this pick a lot from Fox because it allows more space for this Dooley and Wiper to really shine together, as consistently they've been doing throughout this tournament so far. And with, like that being said, Las Creaturas is going to be the first to take the zone here. Fly to You, which is Thunder, pushing up with the Doolies, trying to take some space with Havoc here. But Falco, I love the amount of space and resources that Las Creaturas is using, but PSU Blue feels hesitant here, especially with 2 members going down. If you're not going to move, then I mean, my goodness, where else are you going to go? What are you going to do?
And it's hard because those 2 players alive both had their specials, and are they really going to use their specials when they don't have the rest of their teammates to help support or to push back and try and take the zone? You're in a very weird spot because you just kind of want to like hibernate until some of your players come back, and that way you can be at a full force. J Money is going to be the one trying to get a flank here, able to help take control of the zone, not get any picks. 2 players, that's going to be Havoc and the Big Locks, who are going to be going back to try and take them down. So again, that was a very good hold for Las Creaturas as they got all the way down to 24, but PSU Blue in control, and it's been on and off for PSU Blue. You know, they haven't completely lost control where they've gained penalty points until right now, but with that setup that Las Creaturas had at the very beginning, that was a very dominant start.
Yeah, and I like that Las Creaturas is still, once again, maintaining and holding space, but not overextending themselves to the point where they lose players, because PSU Blue, it seems to me that they're kind of just trying to throw whatever specials they can out there to try to do something here, but then you're not looking on the right, and then here comes Thunder taking 2 different people down, and then you have to try to run away as fast as you can, because once again, you don't have the resources to try to take that fight or find success with it. And so Las Creaturas has been dominantly sailing through this first match here, even with a little bit of pushback from PSU Blue, but it seems like very seamless for them to try to like turn things around.
Yeah, the positioning for Las Creaturas on this stage has really been not matched by PSU Blue, unfortunately. And I think now, like, Havoc, for example, is just like always keeping an eye out on their left side to make sure nobody was dropping while focusing on supporting their teammates. And finally, it's going to be PSU Blue who's able to take control of the zone, and they're going to extend a little bit further. This might be their best opportunity that they have all game, as Vapor is going to be going up for this flank, but quickly spotted by Fox. Vapor with the upper edge, especially with their range, seeing them in a 1v1. Tacticooler kind of use it as a defensive measure. Vapor's going to be trying to jump. They didn't jump out, unfortunately, just jumped to one of their teammates, but now still trying to swim out. But with all of that going on, PSU Blue is in control. They might be in position to take the lead now, but Las Creaturas trying to paint the zone. Is it going to be enough? Yes, it is. Two are going to go down on PSU Blue. A huge save for Las Creaturas as we approach the final minute 40.
Yeah, and oh my gosh, and just another second more and PSU Blue would have been in the driver's seat there. And it's like you almost saw the timer change to the 24, but it was just that one frame of Las Creaturas that was able to turn it back around and maintain the hold. A minute and a half left to go here. Look at Lux trying to take on this right-hand side, but they have to move over to the left because V is there with that Tri-Zuka. The Tri-Splashdown from Vapor is going to try to open things up a little more here for PSU Blue, and V is going to try to utilize this right-hand side to try to see if they can push Lux out of the way. But the thing with Las Creaturas is they're able to follow up with their teammates when people are in danger. But it sucks when you have V being able to... when it sucks when you have V trying to come through, though, and change the dialogue with that. So PSU Blue still holding on to the zone here pretty strong. Las Creaturas is looking for an answer here, Falco.
Yeah, that was incredible for the members of PSU Blue and V. I think what V did so well, too, was that they just kind of waited for the opportunities to shoot. They weren't going to shoot if they weren't going to hit one of the players. They weren't just painting for the heck of it. And that's what extended them to get this lead and even the game win here on game one. So a crazy start, a really good push for Las Creaturas at the beginning, but PSU Blue in that last minute and a half really turned it around. Those players knew how to navigate the stage and really lock out members of Las Creaturas to take them down one by one by one. PSU Blue getting that game win.
I mean, the movement there from V in those final seconds was so crucial. But let's take you back to the beginning here, opening with Thunder. This is where Las Creaturas had really good footing because you had Fox pushed all the way up there, so much damage in tow with very little shots, and then you had Thunder taking up the right-hand side. But it seems like the members of PSU Blue just forgot that Thunder was going that way and spread their resources elsewhere, which gave them a huge advantage. But then PSU Blue was trying to hit back harder, but it took a little while longer to get there. But as the points are starting to topple now, Vapor has to push back. But still, there's Jay trying to still do something just a little bit more, and that gave time for Vapor to try to paint it. But see, no, you saw it, right? It went to 24, and then it went back to 25. Am I crazy?
No, it did just that too, and we've seen that a few times in CCA history. I remember we've commentated or had a few from past seasons that did that, where it just got so close. But here's where V is going to pop off. Already got 2 picks or 3 picks, and now this was the 5th actually right here against Fox. Again, V just did such a good job with their finesse, knew how to identify members that their teammates were in a 1v1 situation, knew when to paint to try and splat them, and they were successful pretty much every time. And all of that happened while PSU Blue was holding onto the zone. Most importantly, they're able to take down some of their penalty points, extend and get their lead before they got the win. So that was a huge final moment for PSU Blue, where they were just able to lock in, take out members of Las Creaturas, where they just weren't at a full force, didn't have time to use their specials to break back in, and that's something they need to carry over into game 2.
Right, and I think it's worth noting too that even though there was that 1 point difference, they were so close to reaching that goal. Like that did not change momentum whatsoever. They were like, okay, let's go again. We threw the left fist, let's throw the right one, now let's try something else, and it worked out in their favor. And I think that just goes to show that like your attitude towards the game needs to stay consistent for you to find success. And if you didn't eat enough in the first round of Robo Ramen, Falco, by goodness, you're going to eat a little bit more again, because we're going back to Robo Ramen and clear the plate for round 2 of your Splat Zone's course meal.
You know, I don't blame Las Creaturas for going to this stage mode just because of how close they were. Again, it was just PSU Blue for a duration of maybe like 30 seconds where they were able to lock in. So Lost Creature is just hoping that they can avoid that, especially from a player like V, who just knew when to strike, didn't miss any of their shots. And that's all it takes for the momentum to change. So as long as Lost Creatures can hold V and hold the rest of the PSU Blue members to make sure they don't go 2-3 down, I think they can get the win. Fox is now going to be playing on Snipe Rider. That's going to be coming out. Some other, not really weapon changes on the side of PSU Blue, but we're going to have Vapor with the custom expo. That's going to have the wall and triple splashdown.
Okay, so wall and triple splashdown for Vapor on splat zones once again. Still so much reach, but Fox is going to try to match that same energy by using the Snipe Rider here. And it's going to be proven to be successful first because Las Creaturas is going to be the victor in this first bout here. And PSU Blue is kind of losing ground as the sub-weapons of Las Creaturas are pushing them back and also giving confidence to push up. My goodness, Thunder. Oh my gosh. Take a breath.
I love, like, when dually players can just get a shot when they're jumping off, rolling off of the wall. That's like, it's just amazing. It's like, I don't know, you just have no time to think about where you're going to be aiming at, and you just get so lucky with that shot, and it worked out really perfectly. And it's still working out for Lost Creatures as they're holding onto the zone, and they have a player advantage. So now V and the teammates are going to be jumping in. They will be tacticaler to help try and give them some momentum, but Lost Creatures still holding onto the zone. Trizuka online, triple splashdown online is ready from Vapor, going to be utilizing it to try and contest. They do, giving 72 penalty points to Lost Creatures and some more momentum now, 3 down. It's going to be Havoc, who's alive and alone with the triple, the tri-strikes as their special going to be taken down. PSU Blue taking it at the perfect time. They need to keep up this momentum and push this timer down as far as they possibly can.
Yeah, just barely jumping out of harm's way with the 72-point penalty, though, to try to make it up. Thunder's going to try to open it up and actually reduce a couple of those points just briefly. But unfortunately, just only taking one. There was a cancellation there. It cancels out, so now they only had 1 point taken from their penalty, unfortunately. But PSU Blue having a little bit more than that. 2 members make it 3 going down. Lost Creatures taking full advantage of that and putting zone back in their favor. V trying to be a little sneaky on the bottom side there, but immediately getting called out. Lost Creatures just has that advantage. They're quick to see where the threats are coming from, and then once they're able to push everyone back into the spawning area, I mean, they go in for the kill. But it's almost like you can't reach your hand in too close. It's like, don't touch the animals, don't pet the animals, because PSU Blue is there to bite back just as quick.
That Ultra Stamp could have been so dangerous for Lux. They were able to push up on that ledge, saw 3 members of PSU Blue, but unfortunately went down. I was expecting them to take out 3 members at once. It did not happen, but with all this going on, Lost Creatures holding on into the zone, out of their penalty points, have that player advantage as well. PSU Blue trying to get the zone, not going to happen. So Lost Creatures on their Splat Zones counterpick, able to get the win in a fairly dominant fashion, tying the setup 1-1. Sapph, we are not seeing Splat Zones anymore.
And it's all thanks to the ceiling sprinkler.
Yeah, of course, it's Robo Ramen Splat Zones. Why wouldn't it be? It could happen later as long as it's potentially in a, not the next one. Somebody has to win another mode in between, but still, replays here from that first game, especially with V going for some of those picks that we had mentioned before, where they would pop off. We'll go, and I that was just a really impressive win from Las Creatures, I think, too. And we knew what they were capable of, and how they started with Game 1 really translated well into Game 2, and just did not allow any members of PSU Blue to really break forward as a full force 4 strong. So a very different change of pace for that one, but Las Creatures able to get that win. PSU Blue now is going to have to make that counter pick.
And that was 5 games of Splat Zones in a row for PSU Blue, mind you. So very, very warmed up for Splat Zones. Lost Preacher is finally putting a cap to it. And honestly, I couldn't possibly eat another bite. I'm ready to try to see something else, the rest of the world, if you will. And there's only 4 different places that we could possibly go with this, other than stages, of course. So I'm hoping to see a little more of this team play from Las Creaturas, because there were so many good little nuggets and moments in there against PSU Blue, but for some reason I feel like V has been really stepping out as a player so far in this set. Like getting to see them previously against USF Gold, like that remains to be said, but I'm seeing a lot of different gameplay coming from V in this set in particular. So looking forward to see a little bit more of what V has to offer.
Right, they've certainly been one of those breakout players who have been able to just kind of know where to be and where to attack. The positioning is key, helping and supporting their teammates, getting those splats, getting those assists. We saw how strong they did that in Game 1 and Game 2, so we'll see what mode we go to next. Again, Tower Control, Rainmaker, or Clan Blitz. We're going to be waiting on PSU Blue to make that counter pick. And I don't really have any guesses because we've seen splat zones and tower control. We just haven't seen a lot of Rainmaker and Clan Blitz today. But they're going to go to tower control, Manta Maria. So slower change of pace. You're going to have a lot of walls here, a lot of flanking opportunities as well. I think this one is very scary, especially if you're rounding a checkpoint around the counter. You have no idea what's going to be around the bend. No idea which enemies are going to be there and how they're going to be approaching the tower. A lot of opportunities for players to jump onto the tower from the height advantages as well that the stage has to offer. So we'll see if there will be any comp changes with this. As you know, we did see a few bubbles come out. We could potentially see that again. Triple splashdown, especially if coming from Creaturas, I'm not going to be sure how viable that's going to be in a mode like tower control where you're not necessarily focused on the paint. But with the height advantage that you do have for the stage, I could definitely see it working, getting some of that leverage and splashdowning onto the tower. So I'm going to be excited to see what both of these teams bring.
And you know, it's not like we're going too far, right? Like we just had our fill of splat zones and we're just taking a step outside of the ship here to watch tower control outside, because I mean, you need a breath of fresh air after all the splat zones that we just consumed, the splat zones content we just consumed. I kind of agree with you on Vapor. I don't know if the triple splashdown is going to be advantageous here, but I believe the vanilla tries or Explasher, doesn't it have the what's it called? I'm blanking on the name of the sub, but where you can track people.
The point sensor.
The point sensor. Yes, the point sensor, I feel like that is a really key thing here, especially against Las Creaturas, with having a lot more nooks and crannies and walls that they can potentially hide on. Oh, but Vapor's actually going to opt for the mini, but still having the bubble. So just a little bit of a range difference here.
The Zinc Mini is a really good pick because you can, with the Toxic Mist, you can slow down some of the players, and with the bubble, you provide yourself a little bit of support. That is a quick 2 down on the side of PSU Blue, as that's going to be Thunder fly to you, getting that wipeout so quickly. Las Creaturas taking control of that tower now, and Thunder going to be getting that crab ready. In using it in a very, very dangerous spot, able to identify any flanks as a few members from PSU Blue trying to break in on their right side. But that tower is going to quickly get past that first checkpoint and approach a second checkpoint. So Thunder once again using that tower to the advantage, putting themselves in a 2v1, but distracting from the rest of their members. 56 is where the push is going to end. 3 are going to go down in a kind of a delayed wipe. So that is a good situation for PSU Blue. They're going to have to get it back to mid, but of course it's going to be what can they do at this point when the tower's back.
Yeah, and a note there is that Thunder was still behind all the members of PSU Blue there for a second, but Vapor had to go and lock that down, so a little bit of a save or from a detriment to PSU Blue. But Las Creaturas is still going to be fighting back hard here, trying to take up space up in the bunker, but PSU is going to have a lot of more counterattack here, especially with Snow using that killer whale. That's going to push Las Creaturas away from the tower here, but PSU Blue is still not really finding too much space to get on. Hopefully with this man advantage, maybe that could be a different story.
Yeah, they really have to ride this momentum, especially with just Big Lux alive. They really need to push this tower past the first checkpoint. They did uncontested, but now here's where the moments where Las Creaturas are coming back. Of course, they have to avoid this killer whale coming out. You have to avoid V, who's going to be sharking behind the tower. And again, this double whale that you're fighting is very, very tricky. It's coming from the Ink Brush and the 52 gal. So especially with all the walls, it's hard to find opportunities that you just aren't going to be targeted. And PSU Blue, they don't have the manpower to push this tower to try and take the lead, and they're going to be going down. So another good stop for Las Creaturas, but it's going to be these hallways, these choke points, where a lot of these players and teams are going to kind of struggle to push and advance the tower. And it might be a game of mid, might be a game of neutral for a majority of this game, Sapph, especially with Las Creaturas not really applying too much pressure. They're just getting a lot of map control. Lux is kind of being pretty ambitious now with that Ultra Stamp pushing forward, but we haven't seen this quite yet. With 2 players going down, it looks like the tower is going to be going back.
Yeah, and Lux was being really problematic there, and I don't think they were quite found what they were looking for, because PSU Blue now finding themselves back in the middle section. It's like you said, I think we're going to be in a bit of a neutral state here unless something really big changes things. But PSU Blue still keeps trying to inch towards that goal of beating them down to the 55 mark, but still finding themselves in a wipeout scenario, especially when you have Fox trying to follow up with a bunch of range coming out from the Snipe Rider. It's just super challenging for PSU Blue to really find any footing around these different choke points, as you were saying. And some people are just better at the close contact fights, you know? Sometimes it's really challenging, and especially, too, if you can do more close combat, but if you have something like a crab tank like Thunder's working with up there, you have to try to get out of harm's way, because now you're in a crab, you can't be as agile and move away.
Yeah, it makes it much more difficult just because of how slow you're going to be moving. You're not going to be very stealthy or sneaky. What I love that Las Creaturas is doing, they're taking advantage of the height. We can see the pencil player, the Snipe Rider, and it's going to be Havoc on the... I'm sorry, not Havoc. It's going to be Thunder on the Slosher, who is able to just use a lot of that leverage to try and get some splats. And that's what they've been riding for a majority of this game when they are able to make an offensive push. Oh, I'm sorry, it is Havoc on the Slosher. But regardless, they've still been able to just really dominate this stage and take complete control of it. There really hasn't been a moment that a majority of mid has not been orange. It's been PSU Blue who's been trying to always have been on the back foot, even when they had the tower to try and break back in. And I think the staggering specials from Las Creaturas has really been showing how strong that this team can play, especially as these last 30 seconds approach. PSU Blue is going to need to try and do something.
Yeah, and I wonder, too, if PSU Blue having the lack of range that they originally had with Vapor is maybe proving to be a little bit of a challenge, because Vapor will still go up and take the higher points, but they just don't have as much firepower, and they can't reach as far, so you get people jumping down on you like that. And PSU Blue doesn't really have much ground to stand on to get this tower forward. Perhaps this Killer Whale can open it up, a trade happening right before their eyes, but there's 3 members on the tower here to push it, Falco, but I mean, you're all in harm's way at that point, because you have to do anything you can to progress forward. So that is Las Creaturas shutting it down, putting us into a 2-1.
Yeah, that final checkpoint situation, that you're pretty much a sitting duck at that point, because you know if you hop off the tower to do anything, a member from Las Creaturas is just going to be hopping on. There were 3 of them, 2 on one side and 1 on the other, who were just ready to pounce if they needed to. So that's kind of a lose situation if you're PSU Blue. They are lucky that they were able to use that Killer Whale and get some of their players to jump in, but like with all the bombs, especially where Havoc is located, that Slosher is just going to be like sloshing on that tower too. They were able to go down and Fox was able to kind of recover, and Havoc was, but yeah, if you're PSU Blue and you're not at that checkpoint, there are more opportunities that you could have to potentially get the win. But at that checkpoint, it is so hard when you don't have that lead in those moments, especially when the ledges are at the height or even taller than the tower. We already have a quick counter pick coming in from PSU Blue. Humpback Rainmaker. This, I believe, is the stage and mode that they beat Las Creaturas on earlier today when they faced in the winners semifinals, and PSU Blue got the win. So they're going to go back to All Reliable here, and hopefully...
That flowchart, the flowchart.
The flowchart, they're going to get the win. I remember watching this because Vapor got a very last-second clutch victory. I believe they were the ones carrying the Rainmaker in overtime to get the win. So Vapor and PSU Blue hoping that that's going to be something that happens again, pushes them to Game 5, potentially bracket reset. But Las Creaturas just 1 game away from being Division 1 champions here in the CCA for fall 2025.
And perhaps tower control was a little bit too slow for PSU Blue's liking. maybe there needs to be a little bit more quickness on the feet, perhaps Rainmaker. And as you said, this is something that has already happened before and found success. And so, I mean, what time is there to play it now, especially when you're one step behind Las Creaturas here in the set point? So I'm hoping that this is going to be the advantageous pick for PSU Blue, and especially having a faster pace of game to get to play with having the 3 shooters that you do, especially someone like Snow that is so keen on looking for a flank, but against the movable object that is Thunder, it's going to be like quite the challenge, I think, for PSU Blue. And still, Jay is not going to be changing off back. I believe the shooter that they were playing before was the N-Zap. Or the Zap is what we had in previously, so we're sticking in with the paintbrush here. So still a double whale comp, Falco, for this Rainmaker bout.
Yeah, double whale, no cooler on the side of PSU Blue. If you're Thunder, you're just saying, nope, I'm going to immediately go for Vapor, take them out. My teammates are going to be carrying the Rainmaker. We're going to get that first checkpoint so quickly. Thunder just wisely just grinding for that crab tank, watching this ledge here for members of PSU Blue to try and drop. This is the quickest push that we have seen so far in Rainmaker, all the way down to 23 in a matter of 35 seconds, and it is going to be popped again, but PSU Blue, Snow is going to be dropping it down. Vapor going to be trying to help paint with some of their triple splashdown, so very wise for Snow to drop it down just to give them a little bit more time. So that was absolutely huge, as Sapph is just holding on to it, seeing what they can do. And Las Creaturas, they're playing the wild game right now. They are playing the chaos, unpredictable game, and it is really paying off for them.
Yeah, I feel like we're watching something, like we're watching Society versus the Wilderness with this one, and Las Creaturas is the Wilderness, and just totally being just kind of scrappy and also just at random fire at will with the way that they're moving this Rainmaker towards the through the stage. Fox unfortunately finding their demise against a splat bomb. They were looking though and trying to sidestep in there, but Havoc is going to move it just a little further down to the 11. Finally though, PSU Blue, Falco, we have a little bit of breathing room here. Vapor's going to be the one to pick it up. The Killer Whale is going to displace just slightly. But already, Las Creaturas are spreading out to the wings of the stage here, and immediately the Rainmaker gets taken down. Only a couple points on the board for PSU Blue.
Yeah, I did not think that bomb was going to hit Vapor. I thought it was a little too far away, but it took him down, and now the Rainmaker is essentially at neutral right now. So that's good for PSU Blue. They have a little bit of a reset. Now, of course, they're in the situation that they don't have to get a knockout to win, but they're getting closer and closer to that point. Fox is going to be going for a flank, able to take out one. V is going to be spotted. They are taken down as well. It is just going to be J Money alive here, who's not afraid to try and go for some picks. They are going to go down in mid. That is going to be a delayed wipe for Las Creaturas. They're going to be picking up the Rainmaker again. Already got through that checkpoint. So we can see Big Lux trying to find ways that they can break in through. The Rainmaker shots are going over the ledge, over the humps to try and also displace along with some of those suction bombs. But a good Killer Whale usage to just try and move some of these players out. You need to get Las Creaturas to just get out of position and move around, and that's exactly why they use those specials. But this is such a tough mountain to climb if you're PSU Blue. You're going to need to have some amazing breakaway moments like they did when they won this particular stage mode in the semifinals.
But it's like, how do you do that if you keep losing all of your teammates left and right, and then the Rainmaker can't even defend you from danger? Las Creaturas still in an advantage point here with holding the Rainmaker away from PSU Blue, and especially launching specials at them in the spawn. I mean, this is insult to injury to PSU Blue with still plenty of time to try to make something up here. But it's so challenging for them to even find closeness to this Rainmaker because Las Creaturas, again, is just one step ahead.
Ooh, I was so surprised. It almost looked delayed about that shot getting Havoc. V getting the nice double. This is what PSU Blue needs. They really need this. Just get the checkpoint, put all the manpower over there and get that checkpoint so you can set up for phase 2. And that is exactly what they're doing. But Las Creaturas is one step ahead. They have a few players drop into mid, throwing suction bombs by the checkpoint just in case they get too close. And V with an incredible idea of what they want to do, but unfortunately is going to be going down. Vapor is going to be carrying the Rainmaker to try and figure out how they can push forward. Thunder is going to need to be taken down. They are by the checkpoint, and now they're going to have the crab deployed. So Vapor is going to have to back up a lot of members of PSU Blue are pushing forward. That Ultra Stamp tried to take them down. So again, just the chaotic movement from Las Creaturas really paying off here in this last minute as they just have PSU Blue in the palm of their hands right now. And these last 30 seconds are going to be very difficult for PSU Blue.
Yeah, and it seems to me that Thunder still is like not receiving any sort of death from any point because they have somebody following up behind them. You saw right there they were close to the brink and somebody was able to finish the fight for them while they were able to escape. So it's like if you have somebody that can move through the stage and also maneuver around different people like Thunder can, and you're getting assistance with that, I mean it's going to be tough to take them out because already here an immaculate stacking of specials. Las Creaturas is going to close us out 3-1.
3-1. They are the grand champions of the CCA Division 1 Fall 2025. A 3-1 fashion against PSU Blue. These were the top 2 seeded teams coming into CCA with over 100 teams represented. So this was absolutely fantastic of a match. And we'll take a look here at the opening from Las Creaturas and how well they performed. They got one down. It's going to be Thunder taking down Snow. It's J-Money and Vapor who are alive. And this flank in particular really distracted Vapor. Vapor could not focus on the Rainmaker while they had to try and take down Thunder. So, and then Thunder's positioning after this, rolling up to the ledge, using the crab, helping extend the push, was exactly what needed to happen. They had the very strong momentum at the beginning, and that carried through this entire game. Went the whole 5 minutes, but this one was all Las Creaturas from the very start, Sapph.
Yeah, Las Creaturas, like, I mean, like I was saying, it's like the wild, it's the more constructive play versus like the wild and just let's just go absolutely nuts with it and move as fast as we can, press all the buttons at the same time. I'd imagine when people describe button mashing in this game, it's collectively what Las Creaturas did in this game. Because pushing it down to the 22 with literally, like, within the first minute of everything going on, I mean, was just insane to see. And then them being able to play the long game like this with PSU Blue, I mean, just incredible fortitude for Las Creaturas to pull that off.
Yeah, a well-deserved win, and we kind of knew this going into it, that they were a team that everyone was very excited to watch in all of this way. So they put on quite a show. PSU Blue, dominant as always a very fun team to watch. And we mentioned PSU Blue is one of those teams, they go to Riptide, they go to LANs. They are such a fun team to meet in person and to watch, and we are so glad that we got to see them at that moment. So, Las Creaturas, again, winners of Division 1. This set is all wrapped up. In Division 2 right now, they are in the losers finals. It is SHSU Orange versus Crab and Go. That one is going on right now. Again, that is the losers finals. And also losers finals Division 3, UCSD Esports versus the Splatter Screen Savers. I don't know if you or Sapph are you necessarily a saver of Splatter's color screen, but that team definitely is. And then over on in Division 4, they are gearing up for the grand finals. That is Temu Black versus Mall in Order. And then in Division 5, they are still working on part of their losers bracket and the loser semis. The OC Eagles versus the Octus Squids United Gray. That is OSU. I know that. I know my Ohio teams. Yeah, so we got a lot of CCA.
This guy knows his stuff. You're over here.
I'm over here, yeah. Hey, even though VCU, a very strong team, in basketball, they're in the Atlantic 10 division. You know what other teams in the Atlantic 10 division? University of Dayton. So I'll still root for VCU for that, and congratulate you on your win, as it's well deserved. But hey, that's going to be it for Sapph and I. We're the first ones to wrap it up. We are very happy and excited that we could be here for you guys. And this has been so much fun. The CCA always puts on a lot of great content, and especially with the effort and collaboration for 5 concurrent streams. Think about how many commentators you have too. A lot of effort went into this. So if you have a moment and you can, please thank the TOs for the CCA for all that they have done for you guys this semester, because it's been absolutely incredible. I always give my gratitude to CCA because they are amazing. But Sapph, that was a lot of fun. Again, Las Creaturas getting the win. Any closing thoughts?
We did it, buddy. Also, congratulations to Las Creaturas, and go Cougs.
All right, go Cougars. Washington State University. And hey, again, a lot of matches still happening on all the other channels happening. Splatoon Tourney, Splatoon Tourney 2, Splatoon Tourney Alt, and the CCA YouTube channel all happening. But if you're sticking around here, we have an amazing video for you guys as I drop my mic. So let's take a look at that video.
We got a cool video.
We got a
Mic
cool
drop.
video. If I hand you the mic, we'll step away. All
Hey.
right, Sapph, me Arlo.
That was Arlo, and Neptune muted us for just a second. We were like, "Oh my god, is that them? Is it a whale? It's
Yeah.
coming out of the sea." We were like, we were narrating everything behind the scenes. But meet Arlo, everybody. This is the new mascot of the CCA. Isn't that exciting?
Yes, and Sapph, as a local TO yourself, you have Eddie for Sea Battle. We have a lot of great and lovely mascots representing fantastic organizations, so we're very happy that Arlo is here for the CCA. I believe this stems from the "well, hello there" gif that they always send when somebody joins a CCA server, so I always love that. It's so fun to see. But again, really happy to see the mascot come out. But as we mentioned, that's going to be it for us. Still plenty of CCA action going on. We're going to go ahead and raid one of the other divisions going on, probably Division 2, happening right now. As you mentioned, they were in the losers finals bracket, pushing to their grand finals. So Sapph and I will sign off. Sapph, where can we find you?
Don't find me. Go Cougs.
All right, you can find me, Falco, doing this Splatoon commentary, which is something I always love to do.
And hanging out with me. I feel like I got to spend the afternoon with you. It's so wonderful.
Wouldn't have it any other way, but you guys have a fantastic day. More CCA action headed your way. You guys stay tuned. Have a fantastic day.